Transmigration, I was overheard by the heroines. In order to revive his parents, Fan obtained a system to travel through the heavens and the worlds. But he didn't expect that every time he arrived in a new world, his voice would be heard by the heroine. So, in the Condor Heroes world, Empress Xiaolongnu founded the Yuan Dynasty, becoming the first female empress in the martial arts world. In the fairy sword world, Shushan was flattened, and the first Holy Lord Lin Yueru rebuilt the holy land of human martial arts. In the Marvel world, in this world, I, Hela, will conquer the universe and let the light of Asgard resound through the galaxy. In the Dragon Ball world, the White Snake world, the Liaozhai world, the Fengshen universe. After countless worlds, when Fan finally resurrected his parents, he just... Wait, why are all the heroines who have opened the attributes of heroines in the worlds I traveled through here? Chapter 1, Can I Hear Senior Brother's Thoughts? In the world of The Return of the Condor Heroes, at Mount Zhongnan, in the Tomb of the Living Dead. After just sparring with Wang Chongyang, Lin Qiaoying returned to her cave and found a crying infant lying at the entrance. She was about to discard it, but as her gaze swept over the child, the large tear-filled eyes, the chubby little face, and the pudgy little hands and feet, everything screamed cuteness. For a moment, Lin Qiaoying couldn't bring herself to abandon the baby. In fact, she even felt a sudden desire to raise it herself. Looking down, she unwrapped the swaddling cloth. Fan? The surname is Di? What a strange name. Who dares to have the surname Di in the Great Song territory? But Lin Qiaoying didn't think much about it. After all, she was a martial artist, a rebellious one at that, so she didn't mind such trivial details. She scooped up the baby and took him into the Tomb of the Living Dead. The baby was none other than the protagonist of our story, Fan. A typical young man from his previous life. Time flew like water, and in the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. On Fan's 18th birthday, the system installed for transmigrators activated. Fan finally learned about his mission. His system task was to overthrow the current backward dynasty and ensure the common people lived better lives. For now, he was in the world of Jin Yong's martial arts novel The Return of the Condor Heroes. He only had to wait for the fall of the Southern Song dynasty and the rise of the Yuan dynasty, and he could then travel to a different world. His ultimate goal: to resurrect his parents. As for how to achieve this, was it really that important? After all, he was currently at the Tomb of the Living Dead on Mount Zhongnan, the most sacred place, as Lin Qiaoying's top disciple. And he had the ethereal little junior sister, Xiaolongnu. This was a place that had never experienced war or conflict until the fall of the Southern Song dynasty, so why bother leaving the mountain to assist Genghis Khan in establishing the Yuan dynasty? Being someone with a basic understanding of history, Fan knew that although the Yuan dynasty conquered the vast Eurasian continent, it was brutal to the people of the Central Plains. As an adult who had gone through 9 years of compulsory education, he couldn't bring himself to help Mongolian soldiers wreak havoc in the Central Plains. And not to mention, the hierarchical system of the Yuan dynasty didn't trust in Chinese. Why would he want to put himself in that kind of situation? Moreover, this was a martial arts world. If he really helped the Yuan dynasty with strategies, wouldn't he fear being assassinated by martial artists? And on top of that, he would be labeled a traitor to the Han people. So, since the wheel of history was bound to roll forward, he decided to lie low, stay with his little junior sister, and quietly wait for his task to be completed. Today, Xiaolongnu should be turning 16, right? I have to say, Xiaolongnu is truly one of the most beautiful women in Jin Yong's martial arts world. Even after seeing her for 16 years, she is still just as stunning. While Xiaolongnu was practicing swordplay in the forest, she suddenly lost her balance and almost fell from the treetop. It seemed she had just heard a voice in her head. She steadied herself and looked around, but the only person in sight was her senior brother. Such a pity. The heavens are jealous of beauty. Little junior sister's future is going to be so miserable. Xiaolongnu's gaze suddenly locked on her senior brother. Senior brother. Standing on top of the tree, with her ethereal presence, Xiaolongnu furrowed her brows slightly. The voice she just heard in her mind, it seemed to belong to her senior brother. But why was it in her mind and not in her ears? Could it be a new martial art? But senior brother has blocked meridians and can't practice martial arts. Fan, hearing the beautiful little junior sister calling his name, instinctively jumped up and rushed over, replying, Xiaolongnu, I'm here. Then. What a pity. Xiaolongnu is so beautiful, but in the end, she was defiled by that jerkin jeeping and Yarngua, that brat, also likes Xiaolongnu, but he's just a little kid who doesn't he know how to handle things, sigh. Once he enters the sect, I'll make sure to teach him a lesson. I'll make him question his entire existence. I can't let him off the hook. At this point, Xiaolongnu was nearly certain that she could indeed hear her senior brother's inner thoughts. And who are Yin Jiping and Yarngua? Does she even know them? What does she, Xiaolongnu, have to do with them? Since learning the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra, Xiaolongnu's heart had grown calmer, but now, her mind was full of confusion, especially about the strange ability to hear her senior brother's inner voice. Yet her expression remained as calm as ever. She decided to keep this matter to herself for now, unsure if she was just hearing things or really hearing her senior brother's voice. Xiaolongnu, aren't you practicing today? Seeing that Xiaolongnu hadn't responded for a while, Di Fan asked again. It's almost lunchtime, and Granny should be back. Let us go back first. Saying this, Xiaolongnu jumped down from the treetop and led the way back. Of course, Di Fan's voice rang again in her head. Looking at little junior sister from behind, her figure is truly perfect, as expected of the most beautiful woman in Jin Yong's world. Yangwa, that brat really hit the jackpot. If I could marry Xiaolongnu, I'd be willing to live 10 years less. Xiaolongnu abruptly stopped, her face turning slightly red. Turning around, she saw her senior brother's suddenly changed expression, especially the fleeting look of admiration, making Xiaolongnu feel a pang of embarrassment. In this era, even the most open-minded courtesans couldn't have withstood such a look from Di Fan, let alone Xiaolongnu, who had never interacted with others. Junior sister? Why aren't you walking? Di Fan asked, confused. Xiaolongnu, with a faint expression, pointed ahead, saying, Senior brother, you walk in front. My advantage is gone. Di Fan's heart was unwilling, but faced with Xiaolongnu's cold, ethereal presence, he didn't dare to voice any objections. Reluctantly, Di Fan could only touch his nose and obediently walk ahead. Why did Xiaolongnu want me to walk ahead? Did she notice my admiring gaze? No way, no way. I've hidden it so well. Wait, I'm not a pervert. My gaze was just admiration. Pure admiration. Or could it be, is 16-year-old junior sister entering her rebellious phase? Is she about to enter the unpredictable stage of life? No. Xiaolongnu, walking behind, listened to her senior brother's inner wailing. TCH. So this is what kind of senior brother you are. All men are the same, as master said, big perverts. Senior brother, you're no exception. HMPH, now that I can hear your thoughts, I won't let you take advantage of me. Xiaolongnu had originally planned to confirm whether or not she could hear her senior brother's inner voice before telling him, but after this bout of admiring the beauty incident, she decided not to tell him, just to avoid accidentally being seen through. Suddenly, an urgent voice broke through their thoughts. Miss, something's wrong. Someone's intruding into the mountain. Both of them stopped, and Xiaolongnu frowned, looking in the direction of the voice. The tomb of the living dead is never known to outsiders, and there's the Zhongyang Palace guarding the front. Who could be trying to intrude? The old woman said, I just caught someone. It seems that there's a rumor in the Jianghu that the tomb of the living dead holds Wang Chongyang's martial arts manuals, and they are said to be kept by the young lady. Now that the young lady has come of age and is so beautiful, they want to challenge her in martial arts. If they win her favor, not only will they gain a beautiful wife, but they will also acquire the tomb's treasures and manuals. Xiaolongnu was taken aback, about to ask more questions, but then the familiar voice in her head sounded again. Damn it, what is second junior sister up to? All she wants is to learn the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra. If she likes it so much, why doesn't she come up to the mountain and take it? After years of not seeing her, all she knows is to stir up trouble down there. When I see her after coming down the mountain, I'll spank her properly in the name of senior brother. Xiaolongnu stared at Di Fan, not expecting that her senior brother seemed to know everything. What should we do now, miss? The old woman was anxious, seeing that more and more people were coming and that Zhongyang Palace seemed unable to hold them off. It's fine. This is something my senior sister caused. Let us go ahead and check it out. Senior brother. Di Fan was still reminiscing about the plot when he was suddenly snapped back to reality by Xiaolongnu. He quickly nodded, all right, let us go. This must be the beginning of the return of the Condor Heroes plot. TSK, this is the classic scene where Yarngwa joins Zhongyang Palace. A few days later, he'll be oppressed by his own master and then escape to the ancient tomb, where Granny Sun will save him. Whenever there's danger, there's always a martial arts expert to rescue him, and she's a beautiful master too. Yarngwa, really living up to being the male lead. Wait, what am I thinking? The more important thing now is to hurry back to the tomb and set up the Jade Bee defense, or the bandits might come and attack us. Suddenly, Xiaolongnu was startled, still uncertain whether she had really heard what she thought she did or wondering who this Yarngwa was and why Granny Sun had saved him. But as soon as she heard the last sentence, she became alarmed. The tomb of the living dead was the only legacy left by her master, and it was the place where they three had survived. How could outsiders take it? She had to believe that it was true, rather than not believe it. Xiaolongnu didn't have time to think about Di Fan's other inner thoughts. She grabbed her senior brother and, with incredible speed, jumped to the treetop, flying toward the front. Oh! Xiaolongnu, slow down. I can't fly. The forest echoed with the sound of Di Fan's desperate wailing, scaring away all the birds and beasts in the area. Chapter 2, Senior Brother, Are You a Reincarnated Immortal? Amid Di Fan's cries and shouts, Xiaolongnu, carrying him along with Granny Sun, arrived at the forest beside the tomb of the living dead. Woo woo woo! The mournful and intense sound of a horn echoed across the clearing. When the three of them arrived, they saw a group of about 100 people, tall and short, standing in front of the tomb and blowing Mongolian horns. At the forefront was a burly man, holding a golden mace taller than a meter, his chest bared, his back exposed. His yellow monk robe clearly identified him as a Tibetan Lama. Beside him stood a younger man, looking about 23 or 24 years old, holding a folding fan in a cultured manner while conversing with the Lama. His appearance was handsome, but there was something unsettling about him. His eyes seemed to conceal countless schemes. Xiaolongnu was about to approach and question them when Di Fan's voice suddenly rang in her mind. So, they are disciples of the Golden Will National Master Dalber and Wudu. Damn. If I'm not mistaken, Dalber is incredibly strong, and although Wudu is a bit weaker, his personality is treacherous and cunning. That fan he is holding probably has countless hidden mechanisms. My junior sister isn't a match for them right now. Why am I still wasting time? We need to summon the Jade Bees to fight them off, or they LL invade the tomb, and it LL ruin the reputation of the ancient tomb. Di Fan was in a hurry but, as a weak scholar with no martial skills, he could only worry and couldn't warn Xiaolongnu. He was more concerned about making a noise and alerting Dalber. Yes, to Di Fan, the real threat was Dalber, not Wudu. Xiaolongnu, feeling somewhat defiant, thought, I'd like to see just how strong these two are to make senior brother so wary of them. This wasn't a sign that Xiaolongnu was losing her composure. After all, she was still only 16, and there was a desire to show off in front of someone so close to her. The senior brother who raised her wasn't he the closest person to her? Wudu waved his folding fan and called out loudly, I, Mongolian Wudu, respectfully wish Lady Xiaolongnu a happy birthday. Wudu's internal energy filled the air, carrying his voice across the entire forest. Xiaolongnu was startled. Was this really Wudu? Could senior brother truly know their background? Her previous thoughts of taking action disappeared immediately. Based on this display of internal energy, Wudu's martial skills were just slightly weaker than hers. Senior brother had said that even weaker opponents could fight her for a while, and on top of that, there was Dalber, who was renowned for his divine strength, plus, over 100 followers. Xiaolongnu, who didn't like fighting, wasn't willing to overthink it. Following Di Fan's thoughts, she grabbed the jade bee flute and blew it. Woo woo, woo, woo woo woo. The distinct sound of the flute filled the air. Wudu, seeing no response, was about to step closer to the tomb when he suddenly heard a buzzing sound growing nearer. Under the moonlight, a misty, grayish-white cloud emerged from the forest, charging toward the villains' heads. Upon closer inspection, it was a swarm of white bees, moving in formation, attacking the group. The group swung their palms to try and knock the bees down, but as mere martial artists, their internal energy wasn't strong enough to project outward, so they couldn't fend off the bees flying in the air. The swarm of bees briefly retreated, then resumed their assault, their transparent wings flapping as they charged at the group. Some of the less agile ones were stung and immediately fell to the ground, clutching their wounds and rolling in pain. Their cries were chilling to hear. Di Fan was stunned. He had fed these bees before, but he didn't know they were so poisonous. Wow, these jade bees are terrifying. These little guys are that deadly. I never realized before. I always thought they were just cute. In the novel, they aren't scary, but seeing them in real life is terrifying. Wait, the scariest thing is still Junia's sister. She is actually commanding the jade bees like an army. As Mom always said, beautiful women are like roses with thorns. Xiaolongnu glanced at her senior brother and changed the tune of the flute. Instantly, the bees split into several groups, attacking from all directions: air, land, and sea, fighting off the villains. The bees attacked in an orderly fashion, almost like a military formation, which left Diaifan speechless and in awe. His mind was blank. Wow, these bees are terrifying. If Junia's sister hadn't been taken out of the tomb of the living dead by Yarngua, those tragic events in her future probably wouldn't have happened. Upon hearing the thoughts in his mind, Xiaolongnu's tune faltered for a moment. The bees' pursuit also eased up. Seeing this, the martial artists quickly scrambled away from the bees' range, their terror palpable. Xiaolongnu sighed but didn't plan to chase them further. She nodded at Granny Sun, who then lit some jade bee honey. The fragrant flowers spread, calling the bees back to their hive. Xiaolongnu then led senior brother back to the tomb. The events of the day had been too bizarre, especially after she deduced, from Wudu's self-introduction and her accurate assessment of his martial abilities, that her senior brother was very unusual. She now felt a deep sense of vigilance regarding what her senior brother had previously said about her tragic future. Once inside the tomb, Xiaolongnu invited Diaifan to sit. Senior brother, I once heard Master say that you were the baby she found near the tomb. Have you ever thought about looking for your parents? Well, I was abandoned, and there is no clue to be found. How can I look for them? Diaifan smiled bitterly, but the thought that Xiaolongnu heard in his mind shocked her greatly. I do want to find my parents, but in another world, how would I even start looking? Sigh, I don't even know how many worlds I'll have to traverse before I can bring them back. What a miserable fate. The system is such a scam. Though Xiaolongnu didn't understand what a system or crossing worlds meant, she understood that senior brother's parents had passed away. And that senior brother could bring them back to life. How could that be? And the mention of several worlds. Could senior brother be a celestial being descended to the mortal realm? This seemed to be the only explanation that could account for why senior brother could foresee her future and anticipate the invaders of the tomb. Also, it made sense why she could hear his thoughts so clearly. Having confirmed this in her heart, Xiaolongnu's gaze toward her senior brother grew strange. Diaifan, feeling uneasy under her gaze, thought to himself. Did I say something wrong? Why is Junia's sister looking at me like that? Chapter 3, Little Dragon Maiden's First Stirring of the Empress's Heart. Yarngua appears at the ancient tomb sect. Why is little sister staring at me like that? Her eyes are so big it's making me nervous. She shouldn't have noticed the issue with my words, right? Having realized that little dragon maiden likely understood his background, Emperor Fan did not press further. Instead, he shifted the topic. Master brother, you've been at the ancient tomb sect for 20 years. Have you ever thought about leaving the mountain? Little dragon maiden asked curiously. According to legend, immortals descended to the mortal realm with a mission. Since Master Brother was an immortal, he surely had his own tasks. He couldn't just stay at the ancient tomb sect for his whole life, living with her in solitude, could he? No, I have no grand ambitions. I can't learn martial arts, so I decided to obey my master's instructions and just live out my life here at the ancient tomb sect. Emperor Fan's words implied that he had no intention of leaving the mountain. However, little dragon maiden paid no attention to his words and focused on listening to his thoughts instead. Leave the mountain? Why would I? The system gave me the task of helping the great Yuan overthrow the southern Song dynasty. With my inability to fight and no martial skills, would I just go down there and die? Anyway, after Yu Fei's death, the southern Song can't last much longer. I might as well stay here, watching the clouds pass by, enjoying life, and waiting for the task to complete on its own. Doesn't that sound much better? What a pity for the common folk of the Central Plains. They are all honest, hardworking farmers, yet because of corrupt ministers and a declining dynasty, they end up being exploited like lambs. The southern Song really deserves to fall. Little dragon maiden was taken aback. Even though she had never left the mountain, she was still a citizen of the Central Plains and knew who the current government was. She never imagined that Master Brother's mission was to overthrow the ruling dynasty. Moreover, if he didn't leave the mountain, would the Song dynasty not last much longer? And what about the people? Their future was going to be that tragic. For the first time, little dragon maiden felt a sense of sympathy. Particularly when she heard the words about Lams as the disciple of Lin Xiaoyin, a woman who had once fought the Jin dynasty alongside Wang Chongyan. She was well versed in both literature and martial arts. She understood exactly what those words meant. It referred to the nomadic people's derogatory term for the people of the Central Plains. Especially after seeing how Wudu acted, she couldn't help but feel discontent toward the Mongols. Was there really no hope for the great Song dynasty? Perhaps Master Brother had a solution. He was the only one who could save the people of the world, wasn't he? This thought flashed in little dragon maiden's mind, but it was only fleeting. After practicing the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra, her temperament was indifferent, and only a few people, like Grandma Sun and Emperor Fan, could stir her heart. She had already thought of so much today, which was the result of years of education under Lin Xiaoyin. P.S. In this book, there is no mention of Lin Xiaoyin's maid taking over the ancient tomb sect. Little Dragon Maiden, Li Mo Cho, and the protagonist are all disciples of Lin Xiaoyin. This is a parallel world, so don't delve too deep into it. Little Dragon Maiden sighed and didn't ask any more questions. After Grandma's son returned, they had lunch together and then went to rest. As for her future, Little Dragon Maiden knew that Master Brother did not want to reveal too much, and she didn't know how to inquire further. She decided to let it go for now. She thought that, given Master Brother's nature, he would never let her suffer in the future. Months passed, and Little Dragon Maiden gradually became accustomed to Master Brother's sudden bursts of thoughts. She began to guess the strange words that occasionally appeared in his mind, which she had never heard before. One day, while practicing martial arts in the woods, Little Dragon Maiden suddenly heard a noise. She took out her jade flute and blew it. A buzzing sound came from the distance. Emperor Fan furrowed his brows and stood up, looking toward the horizon. He vaguely saw a Taoist priest and an 11 or 12-year-old child struggling. Little sister. It's nothing. Someone has entered the ancient tomb sect's boundaries. I'm just giving a warning, Little Dragon Maiden replied casually. She glanced up at the mountain, so that the Taoist priest had been driven away by the jade bees, and wasn't particularly concerned. She was about to continue practicing when she suddenly heard Master Brother's voice in her mind again. Entered the ancient tomb sect's boundaries. Wait, this time, it's been about 6 months since Wudu invaded the mountain. Could it be that the destined protagonist, Little Sister's future partner, has arrived? TSK, Yarngua is finally starting his emotional entanglement with Little Sister. Should I just sit back and watch the drama unfold, or should I intervene? If I ignore it, in the future, Little Sister will be defiled by Yinjiping and will have to go down the mountain with Yarngua, living a tragic and miserable life. But if I intervene, for example, stopping Yarngua from entering the tomb, wouldn't that mean we lose a future hero, and the Mongols will break through Xianyang and invade the Central Plains even sooner? This is so painful. This time, the voice in his mind was filled with many thoughts. Little Dragon Maiden frowned. A child. Her disciple. She would marry him. What nonsense. She had already decided that, like her master, she would live a solitary life. Moreover, according to Master Brother's words, this person would cause her future misery, so she would cut off this mistake at its root. Master Brother, let us go. It's time to return to the tomb. Having grasped the key information, Little Dragon Maiden was no longer interested in the child tumbling down the mountain. She called out to Emperor Fan, but he hesitated and didn't move. Little sister, I saw a child fall down the mountain. Should we go check on him? Grandma's son went down the mountain to swap supplies. She's not here, so we can't save Yarngua. This may be a result of the butterfly effect caused by me. But still, I must go and save him. Even if Little Sister doesn't let him enter the ancient tomb sect, with Yarngua's destiny, as long as he is saved, he should continue to become the legendary hero. When legendary hero was mentioned again, Little Dragon Maiden was a little shocked. Was her little disciple really that important? Fine, let us go check on him, she said, nodding, and following Emperor Fan to the child. Emperor Fan looked at the child in front of him. The Taoist robe had already been torn to shreds from rolling down the slope, but his features were delicate, and despite the branches and rocks, his appearance remained unscathed. One couldn't help but marvel at the child's good fortune. So this is Yarngua, Little Sister's husband, the future legendary hero, who killed the Mongol Khan Kublai in the Battle of Xianyang and delayed the collapse of the Southern Song dynasty with his own efforts. What a pity. I have a mission to complete, and he will be the greatest obstacle. But a hero of a generation, to die like this, I can't stand it. Little Dragon Maiden stood silently beside him, listening to Master Brother's thoughts, not speaking, and waiting for his decision. Chapter 4, The Master you worship is not me, but my senior brother. Junior sister, do you think we should save him? Fan looked at his junior sister, waiting for her decision. Forget it, let me give the choice to my junior sister. After all, he is her disciple and her future husband. If junior sister decides not to save him, it's not my fault. Yarngua had a huge influence on the Battle of Xianyang. In this world, if Yarngua can survive, the Southern Song dynasty can survive at least 10 more years. If Yarngua dies, the Southern Song dynasty will perish early. One can protect the people for 10 more years, the other can let me complete the task ahead of time. Never mind, leave this decision to junior sister. Junior sister, you have the real decision-making power. I will listen to you, brother. After hearing Fan's thoughts, how could Xiaolongnu be willing to take the blame? She decisively threw the blame back. Fan's mouth twitched a few times. Junior sister is not kind. When did you ever listen to me? You usually call me by my command, but now you listen to me. But, I don't know whether I should save him or not. Fan was in a dilemma and had to make a difficult decision. Xiaolongnu did not say anything, but just waited quietly for Fan's decision. After thinking for a long time, Fan finally made up his mind. Save. Hey, Yarngua is the protagonist after all, let us save him first. Xiaolongnu smiled slightly, like 100 flowers blooming. If someone else saw her at this moment, they would definitely be mesmerized by her. It was not known whether it was because she was happy with Fan's choice, or for other reasons, but this time Xiaolongnu did not delay at all after Fan made his choice. She lifted Yarngua up by the scruff of his neck with one hand, and walked into the tomb with Fan. Fan was walking with a lot of thoughts in his mind. I am still soft-hearted. This saved Yarngua. What if the Battle of Xianyang is won in the future? Although the Southern Song dynasty is destined to be destroyed by the Mongols, the trend of history is unstoppable, but if I stay for more than 10 years, I really want to go to the next world as soon as possible. Apart from Little Dragon Girl, there is no entertainment in this world, no movies, no animation, etc. I can't practice martial arts, I can only stare blankly all day long, it's too boring. While listening to Fan's complaints, Xiaolongnu admired her senior brother even more. Yin really wants to return to heaven. Yin knows that not saving the future divine Condor hero will help him complete the mission faster, but in the end he still chooses to save him. The eldest brother is truly an immortal who has descended to earth. When Yarngua woke up, he saw a handsome young man who fed him a kind of cool, fragrant sweet syrup. He swallowed it drowsily, but felt indescribable enjoyment. After just a cup of tea, Yarngua felt that most of the pain in his body had gone away, and he also knew that he was saved by the person in front of him. Yarngua, thank you sir and madam. The handsome young man and the extremely beautiful woman beside him made Yarngua feel ashamed. However, he felt the kindness of Fan from his gentle movements, so he naturally would not say anything bad to him. She's quite well behaved. But this is not my wife, but my junior sister. You can call her Sister Long. Fan first refused to address Yarngua as auntie, then said with a smile, from what I see from your clothes, you should be a Taoist priest of Chuanjin sect, right? You have already drunk the jade bee juice, and your body is fine now, so you can return to Chuanjin sect. This place is the fief of the ancient tomb sect, no outsiders are allowed to stay here, so you can go now. As he said this, Fan wanted to take Xiaolongnu away. Go away, go away. You are such a troublemaker. Whoever follows you will be in trouble. My little junior sister is so beautiful and charming, she is so charming, but you ruined her life and made her miserable. I saved you because of you, the hero of the Condor Heroes. I kept you here. I don't want to harm my junior sister. However, he wanted to ignore it, but as a son of destiny, Yarngua had his own way of survival, so how could he really leave like this? The ancient tomb sect. Brother and sister, I wonder how it compares to the Chuanjin sect. Certainly. Of course I will tell you that it is not as good as Chuanjin sect. What if I let you know that the founder of the sect, Lin Xiaoying, was as good as Chongyang in his life. What would you do if you wanted to become his disciple? However, before Di Fan could finish his words, Xiaolongnu, who had understood what Di Fan was thinking, spoke up. The tomb sect is not inferior to any other sect, especially Chuanzhen. Di Fan twitched his lips and looked at Xiaolongnu. Xiaolongnu also looked at him indifferently, and the meaning in her eyes was very clear. Senior brother, are you going to tell others that Master Lin Chaoyin is not as good as Wang Chongyang? Oh, now that you've said that, what else can I say? Speaking of which, Master Lin Chaoyin is not weaker than Wang Chongyang in the book. In fact, as a woman, she stood up against the Jin army in the interests of the country. How could she be weaker than others? Xiaolongnu showed satisfaction. HMPH. You dare to slander Master? But as soon as the words came out, Yarnguo on the other side knelt down and saluted. Brother and sister, I want to join the ancient tomb sect and no longer go to that damn Chuanzhen sect. Di Fan was stunned. This guy really took advantage of the situation. No. Di Fan decisively refused. The tomb clan only accepts women, not men. Then why are you also in the tomb sect? Yarnguo rolled his eyes and started to refute. Then he seemed to realize that Xiaolongnu was the real person in charge, so he knelt down to Xiaolongnu and kowtowed several times. Sister, my parents are dead and I have no home. The Chuanzhen Taoist priests bully me because I am young. They either beat me or make me do hard labor. If I stay here any longer, I will be tortured to death. Sister, you are so beautiful, you must be very kind, please save me. As he spoke, Yarnguo took off his shirt on his own initiative, revealing the scars from the fight and the bruises on his shoulders from hard labor. Seeing that miserable look, if it were someone else, they might actually soften their hearts and accept it. As for Xiaolongnu, of course she chose to listen to the elder brother's opinion. Damn. This guy is taking advantage of the situation. Is he going to get the apprenticeship done right away? Although Yarnguo is indeed very talented and can promote the reputation of the ancient tomb sect in the martial arts world, but if you accept him, there will be endless troubles. Little junior sister, don't accept him, you must not accept him. Once you accept it, you will be in real trouble. Humiliated in the jungle, faced numerous disasters, and suffered 16 years of misery. Junior sister, you must not agree to this. Xiaolongnu looked at Yarnguo calmly. Was he the protagonist of this world, the man of great fortune, as her senior brother had said? Would her future be entangled with him and lead a miserable life? But the eldest brother once said that Yarnguo was a key figure in the Battle of Xianyang. If there is no apprenticeship, in the future, the people living under the mountain. The ancient tomb sect can accept you, but the master you worship is not me, but my senior brother. Chapter 5, Yarnguo becomes a disciple, Di Fan accepts him as a disciple. R2. Two sounds of surprise were heard simultaneously. What the hell? Junior sister doesn't accept disciples, but wants me to. With my mediocre kung fu? No, I don't even have mediocre kung fu, what right do I have to teach Yarnguo? You must be kidding. I'm going to teach the Condor Heroes. What to teach? To teach a Condor Heroes who throws lime and plays dirty tricks. Better to just destroy him. Countless horses were running wildly in Di Fan's heart. Wasn't it a joke to ask a person from the future who had no knowledge of martial arts to teach the heroes of the future? As for Yarnguo's astonishment, compared to a fair-skinned, soft-voiced female master, who would be willing to be taught by a grown man. No matter how handsome he is, it won't work. Junior sister, don't joke around, your brother doesn't know any martial arts. Even if I knew where all the secret manuals of this world's magical skills were, I would never teach them. Sister Long, this brother doesn't know martial arts, so why don't you just take me in? Yarnguo also begged quickly. Although leaving Chuanzhen sect is the first priority, if I can have a beautiful woman as my master, it will definitely be better than having a man as my master. After all, up to now, compared with those stinky Taoist priests of Chuanzhen sect, although his Aunt Wang on Peach Blossom Island was also dissatisfied with him, at least she didn't beat him, right? Xiaolongnu looked at Yarnguo indifferently. Oh, you still look down on my senior brother? Oh, you know that my senior brother is an immortal who came down to earth, and his mission is to save the people of the world. You ungrateful thing, if my senior brother didn't think highly of you, I would throw you out right now. You only have two choices. Either stay and worship my eldest brother as your master, or go back to Chuanzhen sect. After saying this, Xiaolongnu stared at him indifferently, waiting for his answer. Yang Guo was stunned. He had never expected that the woman in front of him would be so unloving. Seeing his wounds all over his body, don't you have any sympathy? Even if you don't accept him, you won't drive him back to Chuanzhen sect, right? Even Aunt Wang wouldn't be so cruel to me. Di Fan, who was standing by, was stunned. Why did Junia's sister insist on asking me to accept Yang Guo? Could it be that because I'm so handsome, Junia's sister thinks I can teach him well? My damn good looks. However, it is normal for the junior sister not to accept Yang Guo as her apprentice. According to the plot development, the junior sister accepted Yang Guo because of Granny Sun's last words. Wait. The plot is that because Granny Sun died, junior sister accepted me. If Yang Guo becomes my disciple, he will not drag me down to death before he can become junior sister's disciple, right? It's hard to say. Yang Guo is a man of bad luck basically. No one who has anything to do with him has a good ending. Her parents died tragically when she was young, Grandma's son died tragically, and the little apprentice sister lived alone for 16 years. All the girls she met on the road lived alone, leaving behind the regret of meeting Yang Guo and ruining their lives. After hearing several voices in a row, Xiaolongnu suddenly opened her eyes. Two sharp lights flashed across Yang Guo's body, full of murderous intent. She didn't care about luck or being the protagonist. She didn't care about the Toon clan that was isolated from the world. But Granny Sun and Di Fan were different. These two people can be said to be the only two people she cares about in this world. In the eavesdropping on people's thoughts a few months ago, the plot that Xiaolongnu understood was the original future. Doesn't it mean that Granny Sun was dragged down by Yang Guo, so she left her will asking her to accept him as her disciple? In that case, this person cannot be kept. Xiaolongnu directly picked up the golden bell rope. She didn't care how important Yang Guo was, or how great the achievements of the divine Condor hero would be in the future. She only knew one thing, that no one who killed her family could be left alive. You don't have to choose. I've decided that you will die here. Xiaolongnu said this coldly, and the golden bell rang. The golden bell rope rushed out like a poisonous snake, pointing directly at Yang Guo's vitals. In Yang Guo's pupils, a huge golden bell flew towards him at a rapid speed. The murderous intent contained in the bell frightened him so much that his body became stiff, his pupils dilated, and he could not move. Stop. Di Fan realized something was wrong and quickly stopped his junior sister. I'll take it. Is it not okay for me to take it? Fuck, what's wrong with junior sister? This kid Yang Guo can't be killed. He is the protagonist of this world. If I kill him, who knows if he will be struck by lightning? I can travel through the world. Who knows if there is such a thing as heavenly consciousness? Heavenly Tao? Could it be that it is the gods who govern the human world? Xiaolongnu frowned slightly and put away the golden bell rope. According to what senior brother said, it seems that Yang Guo can't be killed. Brother, do you really want to accept him as your disciple? Looking at the frightened Yang Guo, Xiaolongnu looked at Di Fan again. Di Fan twitched his lips and replied, Little junior sister, if you don't accept him, I can't just watch him suffer in that place, right? Who made me soft-hearted? Par. If he wasn't the Condor hero, I wouldn't have accepted it. No, even if I accept him, I have to educate him well and make him a good person with good manners and good looks. I can't let him cause trouble to other girls. Also, keep him away from junior sister. Anyway, I have plenty of kung fu and other things. Just throw a few books at random, and it will be enough for him to learn for a lifetime. In short, educate him and get him out as soon as possible. Don't let him delay junior sister. Xiaolongnu secretly rolled her eyes. Big brother, you're worrying too much. I really don't know what the future holds. Why would I fall in love with a man who is several years younger than me? I must be possessed by evil spirits, or the gods must be causing trouble. Big brother, let's go. Not wanting to think any more, Xiaolongnu picked up one person in each hand and walked on the treetops back to the ancient tomb cave. Afterwards, the two of them brought the young Yang Guo into the cave, followed the rules, became disciples, and spit on Master Chongyarng's saliva, and officially became a disciple of Master Defan of the ancient tomb sect. Hey, this is a big burden to carry. At night, when Granny Sun came back, she was very happy to see that the ancient tomb sect had a new third-generation disciple. She immediately prepared a large table of food and took great care of Yang Guo. Granny Sun's welcome also made Yang Guo finally feel their warmth. For the first time, he had a sense of belonging to the ancient tomb sect, and with Granny Sun's introduction, he also gained a new understanding of Di Fan and Xiaolongnu. Everyone in the ancient tomb sect is having fun, but over there in Chongyang Palace, there is an uproar because of Yarnguo's disappearance. You know, Yarnguo is Yarnkang's son, and Guo Jing brought him here to teach him. But he disappeared after the duel. How can he explain this to the ancestors? How can he explain this to Guo Jing? It should be noted that Guo Jing's current status has reached the height of the leader of the martial arts world. Moreover, because he is stationed in Xianyang and resists foreign tribes, he has received the support of countless martial artists. Even the child brought by Guo Jing himself was lost. Once the news gets out, Chongyang Palace will no longer be able to gain a foothold in the world. Chapter 6, Chongyang Accountability. Acting Master. Lu Qingju lowered his head and walked to the center of the hall, in front of the acting headmaster Yin Jiping, not daring to look at him. It was him who bore a grudge against Yarnguo and took advantage of Zhao Zhijing's anger at Yarnguo because of Guo Jing's matter to deliberately attack him, resulting in Yarnguo's disappearance now. I will discuss right and wrong with you when Yarnguo comes back. Now it's important to find the person. Tell me, where did he go? Yin Jiping glared at the other person fiercely. If he couldn't get it back, even he himself could not afford the consequences of creating a rift between Guo Jing and Chongyang Palace. This. Lu Qingju didn't dare to look at Yin Jiping. Explain. Yarnguo. I chased Yarnguo to the back of the mountain, and he rolled down the slope. Lu Qingju really couldn't resist Yin Jiping's angry eyes. Helplessly, he could only stammer and tell him the whereabouts of Yarnguo. The corners of Yin Jiping's mouth twitched and he gritted his teeth. He really wanted to beat this guy to death. You said you lost him, but if a child rolled down a slope, aren't you afraid that he would get hurt? It was so late, and you reported it only when you saw that you couldn't hide it anymore. If no one rescued him. Thinking of the consequences of Yarnguo's death at the foot of the hill, Yin Jiping jumped up from his seat in fear, called a dozen Taoist priests, and shouted at Lu Qingju, "Hurry up and lead the way." Okay. Lu Qingju was so stunned by the scolding that he immediately ran out. Everyone came to the hillside where the two men fell when they were chasing each other. Looking at the hillside and then at the stone tablet with the words, "Forbidden Land," not far away on the opposite side, Yin Jiping couldn't help but frowned. Lao Hua actually fell to the opposite side. Other Taoists don't know, but Yin Jiping, as a third-generation disciple, knows it very well. The so-called forbidden area of Chuanjin sect is actually a secluded sect. The ancestor opposite him and his own ancestor are emotionally entangled, with love and hate intertwined. The grievances and grudges in it are really hard to describe in one word. He really didn't want to step into the territory of the ancient tomb sect, but Yarnguo's identity forced him to enter. In desperation, as the leader, Yin Jiping stood in front of the forbidden stone tablet and used his internal force to transmit the sound. Chuanjin disciple Yin Jiping greets Miss Long. As a third-generation disciple, Yin Jiping's strength had long reached the level of an early post-natal master. With the help of his internal strength, his voice penetrated very far and was directly transmitted into the ancient tomb. P.S. The divine Condor's martial arts are divided into 4 levels, acquired masters and innate masters. The 2 stages are divided into 4 levels, namely, elementary, intermediate, advanced, and peak. Wang Chongyang practiced the innate skills and reached the level of entering and exiting the innate level. The 4 supreme masters are all acquired peak masters. After all, it is a low-level martial arts world, and it is not a world of the pinnacle of low-level martial arts like Tianlong Babu. So, that's it. The 4 people who were eating at the table just heard the sound, but before they could react, they saw Yarnguo shudder, and the chopsticks in his hand fell to the ground. Granny Sun felt extremely distressed and quickly picked up the chopsticks and patted Yarnguo's hair. Don't be afraid. Granny, I just. Yarnguo did not say anything bad about Chuanjin sect, but just shed tears silently, which made people feel particularly sad. Granny Sun was an old lady with a kind heart. She would never let a child suffer such injustice. She immediately said to Miss Long, "Miss, these Taoists are too much. How about I go out and teach them a lesson?" Miss Long also looked towards Yarnguo, but there was no pity in her eyes. Instead, there was something strange. TSK, such acting skills. If I didn't know the truth, I would have really thought that Yarnguo had suffered a lot. As expected of the protagonist who ruined her life by seeing Yarnguo. Without saying a word, she made her mother-in-law feel guilty. Her acting is simply amazing. Yes, the reason why Xiaolongnu looked at Yarnguo with a smile on her face was because she heard Di Fan's thoughts. This crying sound, this aggrieved and pitiful look, is it actually acting? He glanced at the eldest senior brother out of the corner of his eye, and sure enough, there was no sympathy in Di Fan's eyes when he looked at Yarnguo, only a look of waiting to watch a show. I don't know if the junior sister will be fooled. Hey, Yarnguo's acting skills are pitiful. When he was a child, he could only cheat and deceive in order to survive. Shouldn't he have trained his acting skills to perfection? By the way, the person outside seems to claim to be Yin Jiping? Isn't he the one who tarnished the innocence of junior sister in the future? Damn. That means I don't know martial arts, otherwise, I would have castrated him. Whenever Di Fan thought about how he almost burned the books of the Return of the Condor Heroes, he was filled with resentment. This was also the resentment of countless readers of the Return of the Condor Heroes. Xiaolongnu's pupils shrank. She just heard that Yarnguo was acting and he wasn't planning to go out. Now, har har. I want to see who the person who insulted her and caused her miserable life is that the senior brother has been talking about. However, before leaving, she did not forget to warn Yarnguo. If you want to stay in the Tomb clan, just tell me what you want. No need to act. This is not a market town. If you do this again next time, don't blame me for not giving your master face and kicking you out. After saying that, Xiaolongnu showed off her hand, and the golden bell rope on her sleeve flew out, wrapped around the sword on the wall, and her body flew out through the air. Inside the tomb, Yarnguo was stunned by the scolding. Granny Sun beside him also understood what Xiaolongnu said and slapped Yarnguo on the head in annoyance. The girl is right. Don't be so slick at such a young age. There are no bad people in the Tomb sect. If you continue to do this, the girl will really kick you out. Do you understand? Although it was a scolding, one could still feel the strong feeling of protection. His eyes kept sizing up Di Fan. Yarnguo also realized where he was wrong, so he quickly put down his bowl and chopsticks and knelt down to apologize to Di Fan. Master, I was wrong. Di Fan smiled bitterly. The junior sister is worthy of being the junior sister. She is the most intelligent person in Jin Yong's novels. She seems to be quiet, but in fact she remembers everything in her heart. But you should finish the thing before leaving. In this case, wouldn't I be the bad guy? The scapegoat? Okay, get up. Reluctantly, he waved his hand and signaled Yarnguo to stand up. Remember what your uncle master said, don't do it again. Otherwise, I can't protect you. I will obey the master's orders. Yarnguo stood up obediently, and the three of them continued to eat. Outside the tomb, Xiaolongnu and Yin Jiping were already facing each other, standing on both sides of the stone tablet and staring at each other from a distance. Hearing the sound of clothes being torn by the wind, Yin Jiping could not help but look up. He saw a girl in white standing on the treetops, but her face was pale, as if she was sick. Although the firelight was like a rosy cloud, there was still no blood on her face, which made her look more elegant and beautiful. People often describe the beauty of women as beautiful as a fairy, but no one knows how beautiful a fairy is. At this time, when they saw the girl, everyone couldn't help but think of the words, beautiful as a fairy. She was covered with a layer of light smoke and mist, which seemed real and illusory, but she was not a person in the mortal world. The more than 10 Taoists outside the tomb didn't know where Xiaolongnu came from. They only saw that she was so beautiful that everyone felt special. Yin Jiping was even more deeply mesmerized by her unparalleled grace and could not help but reveal his admiration in his eyes. Little did he know that in the eyes of Xiaolongnu, especially after she heard Di Fan's inner thoughts, Yin Jiping's gaze was disgusting to the extreme. Chapter 7, Poor Yin Jiping. Xiaolongnu looked at Yin Jiping with disgust, with a strong murderous intent flashing in her eyes, but it was this murderous intent and disgust that made Yin Jiping wake up from his infatuation. Miss Long, there is a disciple of my sect, Yarnguo, who was chased by his fellow disciples by mistake and entered your sect's territory. I wonder if your sect has seen him. Xiaolongnu glanced at him calmly and said, So you define beating and injustice as pursuit? You are really the best sect in the world. I wonder how sad the child's relatives would be if they knew about the scars from the beatings and the silt from the heavy work. In her words, Xiaolongnu was full of sarcasm. The corner of Yin Jiping's mouth twitched, and he turned around and glared at Lu Qingju and Zhao Zhijing. Master Qiu entrusted Yarnguo to you, and this is what you did. The key point is that now there is room for criticism. Of course, Yin Jiping also felt ashamed and annoyed at having lost face in front of his beloved goddess. Zhao Jijing walked over with lowered eyebrows and raised eyes and said, "Junior brother Yin, let's talk about it when we get back." Yes, no matter how dissatisfied they are with Zhao Jijing, it is an internal matter of Chuanjin sect, and they can only take him back first. Yin Jiping took a deep breath and turned to look at Xiaolong and V. "Miss Long, you misunderstood. This child is extremely naughty and has betrayed his teacher and ancestors, which is against the rules of the Daring sect. People in the martial arts world emphasize respecting their teachers and elders. I think it is right for our sect to punish him. And this child is a disciple of my Chuanjin sect. Please return him to me, Miss Long. As for the right and wrong of this matter and whether the punishment is excessive, we will report it to the Yin sect master, and he will make the decision impartially. Miss Long, please return the child first. If our sect has offended you, we will follow the sect master's instructions and come to apologize." Yin Jiping's words were flawless. To put it simply, no matter whether it was right or wrong, it was an internal matter of our Chuanjin sect. You, Xiaolongnu, are an outsider, and even if you live in Zhongnan Mountain, it is not your responsibility to manage it. Yin Jiping thought that what he said was quite proper. Even if he couldn't get the person back, at least he wouldn't offend Xiaolongnu. However, he didn't know that his words fell into the ears of Xiaolongnu, who was already dissatisfied with Yin Jiping, and he thought that his words were shirking responsibility. Even, they are protecting their own people. I haven't heard that the other party wants to inform the elders. But how can the elders interfere in the affairs between the younger generation? The most likely possibility is that each of them will be punished with 30 strokes of the cane, and Yanguo may even punish them more severely. Don't think this is impossible in ancient times. Talking back to 1's master was an unforgivable sin. That's not necessary. Xiaolongnu glanced at him calmly and turned to leave. That child has given up studying in Chuanjin sect and joined our ancient tomb sect. From now on, I won't bother you with anything. Having said that, Xiaolongnu wanted to leave, but Yin Jiping had finally confirmed that Yanguo was in the tomb, so how could he let him go? Seeing that his masters were about to return to the mountain, without a key disciple, how could he explain to his masters? Subconsciously, Yin Jiping jumped up and tried to grab Xiaolongnu. Feeling a strong wind coming towards her clothes from behind, Xiaolongnu took a glimpse and saw that it was the disgusting person mentioned by her senior brother. He actually stretched out his hand to her. As her senior brother said, he was indeed an unforgivable rapist. Humph! Get out of here, pervert! With a wave of her white hand, the golden bell rope flew out from her sleeve and hit Yin Jiping's chest heavily with lightning speed. One of them was trying to gather his inner strength to escape, and he used all his strength easily when performing his moves. The other one was reaching out in a hurry, and he never expected that the other party would attack him. He used all his strength to fight against the unprepared, and even if Yin Jiping was the chief disciple of the third generation, how could he withstand the attack of Xiaolongnu? He was hit hard on the chest by a bell, and flew back, fell heavily to the ground, and spit out a mouthful of blood. Looking at his face again, it was pale as gold. He fell to the ground seriously injured, and was dying. Xiaolongnu snorted lightly, and said in a cold voice, "If you pull my clothes again next time, I will give up your hand and your life." After saying that, Xiaolongnu's figure was like a swimming dragon, stepping on the treetops and leaving quickly and gracefully. Zhao Jijing, Yin Jiping and others looked at each other, wanting to ask for an explanation, but the scene of hundreds of people in Huodu being expelled last time was still vivid in their minds. How dare they break into the dense forest at night? With no other choice, they had to carry Yin Jiping back to the Chuanjin sect, and by chance, they were spotted by Hao Daong and other second-generation disciples who had returned. On the other side, inside the ancient tomb sect, Xiaolongnu descended from the air spotlessly and picked up the bowl and chopsticks again. Diaifan looked at Granny Sun, then at Yanguo. One lowered his head and dared not speak, while the other's eyes were full of the baby. Helplessly, he could only swallow the food in his mouth in a few mouthfuls and put down his bowl and chopsticks. "Junior sister, how is the situation?" "Nothing happened. I just had a fight with Yin Jiping and almost beat him to death." Xiaolongnu raised her eyes and said something that almost scared Diaifan to death. Wait, this isn't going well. Xiaolongnu, why did you run into Yin Jiping? What the hell is it that almost beat Yin Jiping to death? Is my little apprentice sister so cruel? In the original novel, Yin didn't even kill anyone. TSK, after suffering such a blow, I think if Yin Jiping sees Junior sister again, He will not retreat, but he will definitely not think about becoming a dragon knight, right? Dragon rider. Xiaolongnu didn't react at all, but she was smart, so the knowledge in that area was not without its contents in the ancient tomb. She was so angry that she rolled her eyes at Di Fan. What? Am I bad at martial arts? Eat. Oh. What's so fierce about it? A teenage girl with such a bad temper, be careful not to get married. Oh, that's not right. It seems that I have severed the fate between her and Yarngwa Tsk. The gentle Aunt Long has turned into a fierce Uncle Master. I am so guilty. Di Fan was thinking about something and lowered his head to eat rice. Xiaolongnu listened to her senior brother's unreliable voice while chewing the rice in her mouth as if it were his meat. If she wasn't afraid of being punished suddenly, revealing the secret that she could hear her brother's inner thoughts, she would have to let her brother know what it meant to be a brother saying goodbye to his sister and laughing. What it meant to be a sister who knew martial arts and not to be messed with. Unconsciously, Xiaolongnu did not realize that since she could hear the voice of her senior brother, her state of mind in practicing the Jade Girl Heart Sutra has become increasingly unstable. Her strength has also been declining unconsciously. In Chongyang Palace, Headmaster Maryu checked Yin Jiping's injuries, walked out of the hall, and nodded to his fellow disciples. Junior brother Yin only suffered internal injuries and will recover in a few months. HMPH. That person from the ancient tomb sect is so overbearing. Not only did he forcibly rob my Chuanjin disciples, he even seriously injured them. I must come to their house to ask for an explanation for what happened tonight. The speaker was Hao Datong, the most irritable of the 7 true ones. Chapter 8, Chuanjin attacks, defeats the enemy in one move. Don't worry, junior brother. The ancient tomb sect has always been reclusive and rarely takes action. Let's investigate this matter first. Maryu shook his head and called Zhao Jijing to ask. Humph. What's there to ask? Isn't it true that he robbed his disciples and injured his nephew? Hao Datong was still not convinced, but since the senior brother had already spoken, no matter how dissatisfied he was, he just stayed where he was and waited for the result. A moment later, Zhao Jijing came before his master and all his uncles and aunts. Faced with Maryu's questioning, he hesitated for a moment, but still did not dare to hide it and told the truth. As for the content, it certainly downplayed his own guilt and intensified the accusations against Yarngwa. This is it. My. I said that Yarngwa was an untamable wolf cub. His father, Yarn Kang, coveted wealth and fame and wanted to betray his country today. He still doesn't know how to respect his teacher and beat up his brother without authorization. He ignored the teacher's teachings. I must take him back to restore the prestige of my Chuanjin sect. Hao Datong roared and was about to go to the forbidden area to get Yarngwa back. Xiao Chuji, who was standing aside, also frowned slightly, feeling dissatisfied in his heart. He was already extremely ashamed of Yarn Kang's teachings. He never expected that even his son would be so rebellious today. Zhao Jijing lowered his head, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up. The anger of his uncles was beating. His mistakes were over. Maryu stared at Zhao Jijing quietly. When Hao Datong was persuaded by other junior brothers and walked to the side angrily, he said, Jijing, is what you just said true? Jijing raised his head and met Maryu's eyes that seemed to see through his heart. He dared not look directly at him, and hurriedly bowed his head and said, Master, I dare not speak nonsense. Maryu sighed lightly. This disciple was Wang Chuyi's disciple, and his martial arts was the strongest among the 3 generations of disciples. He was also a candidate for the next headmaster. Whether because of his junior brother or his identity as a candidate, it was not appropriate for him to expose the other party at this time. However, although it was not said, Maryu had basically eliminated him from the candidates for the position of the next headmaster. In that case, Inri, let's go to the tomb sect to ask for someone. We will obey the orders of the master. Hao Datong, Xiao Chuji, Wang Chuyi and others all bowed and returned to the palace to rest without further ado. On the second day, early in the morning, after having breakfast, Maryu brought the 6 Chuanjin disciples, along with Zhao Jijing and Lu Qingju, to the forbidden area where the stone tablet was located. The head of the Chuanjin sect requests to see the head of the ancient tomb sect. Maryu's voice was long and reached directly into the ancient tomb sect. At this time, Di Fan had just gotten up and was about to have dinner with Xiaolongnu, Yarngwa and others. When the voice came in, Di Fan couldn't help but frown. Is this going to never end? If I had known that the Chuanjin sect was full of bastards from top to bottom, I would have surrendered to the Jin kingdom and made peace with Mongolia. As expected, since Wang Chongyang's death, there has been no good person. The master tried his best to fight against the Jin kingdom, but the disciple surrendered to the Jin kingdom and even accepted its prince Yan Kang as a disciple. This is simply a betrayal of the master and ancestors, and it is not worthy of being the #1 sect in the martial arts world. Di Fan was complaining about the Chuanjin sect indignantly. Actually, the Chuanjin sect in Jin Yong's novels is not a good thing in terms of national hatred and family feuds. After Wang Chongyang, the next chiefs were all people who played both sides and were fence-sitters. Xiaolongnu glanced at the eldest brother with satisfaction. As Lin Xiaoyan's direct disciple, she would be happy if anyone scolded Chuanjin. Well, it would be even better if the eldest brother could scold Wang Chongyang together. You guys eat first, I'll go out and take a look. Ma Yu had already given the hint to the headmaster to go out and meet him, and Xiaolongnu naturally did not want to weaken her momentum, so she wanted to get up and go out. Don't, Di Fan hurriedly stopped him. Wer and I will go together. I guess they are here for Yarngwa this time. A few shameless Taoist priests, you are already so old, and you still want to bully my underage junior sister. Isn't it just relying on your age and strong internal strength? After this incident, I will teach my little sister to become the best master in the world and give you Chongyang Palace a good slap in the face. 9 Yang magic skills and 9 Yin manuals have both been published. Oh, yes, there is also Lingzhou Mountain, where you can find the most powerful martial arts techniques of Jin Yang. Oh, who knows, it may be able to cure my meridian blockage and allow me to practice martial arts. Di Fan's thoughts subconsciously wandered, while Xiaolongnu secretly memoized the place mentioned by the senior brother, and prepared to go out of the mountain after this incident was over. After all, the fact that senior brother cannot practice has always been a regret for master. Brother wants to go, so let's go together. Girl, wait for me, I'm going too. Xiaolongnu nodded, and brought Defan, Yarngwa, Granny Sun and others to the front of the stone tablet. However, as soon as they arrived at the stone tablet, before Xiaolongnu could even open her mouth, the other side couldn't help it. Hadatong was the first to jump out, reaching out to grab Yarngwa. You are a wicked disciple who betrays his master and ancestors. Get lost. You bastard, how dare you attack a child? Granny Sun waved away Hao Datong's hand, but her talent was limited after all, and she was unprepared, and she could only barely wave away Hao Datong's hand. She then retreated a few meters and quickly protected Yarngwa behind her. Seeing the other party being so rude, Xiaolongnu couldn't help but frown. Is it possible that everyone in Chuanjin sect is like this, bullying the elderly and the weak? No wonder Chongyang Palace fell into decline after Wang Chongyang's death. You people have neither inherited Chongyang's character nor Chongyang's methods. You are really a disgrace to us. Xiaolongnu hated Hao Datong for attacking Granny Sun, and his words were very harsh. Granny Sun had taken care of them since they were young, and was both their teacher and mother. Hao Datong's attack must have pissed Xiaolongnu off, didn't it? She was able to maintain an indifferent expression thanks to her practice of the Jade Girl Heart Sutra, which enabled her to keep her emotions under control. Hao Datong's face turned red after being scolded by Xiaolongnu. In shame and anger, he attacked directly. Then you can see whether I have inherited Chongyang's skills. As he spoke, Hao Datong waved his hands repeatedly, and he was really angry. Xiaolongnu was not afraid either. When she arrived just now, Di Fan reminded her in her heart that she had already brought all the equipment with her. She saw the golden bell rope suddenly fly out from her sleeve, and there were 3 consecutive ding-ding sounds. The golden ball trembled 3 times and pressed the 3 acupoints on his face, Yingxian, Qingqi, and Renzhong. Her figure was more like a swimming dragon, her toes lightly tapping the ground, and she fluttered up like a butterfly. While dodging the attack, Jin Ling was able to continue pressing towards the acupuncture points at a rapid speed. It was because Hao Datong was experienced in fighting the enemy that he dodged the attack with a simple move, but at the same time he was attacked from behind by Xiaolongnu, and was hit hard on the stone tablet by a palm strike, apparently suffering internal injuries. The record of defeating the second-generation disciples of Chuanjin sect with one move, and even Qiu Chuji, Ma Yu and others were unable to rescue them. This record immediately made the scene silent and suppressed the entire audience. Chapter 9, The Story of Yarngwa is over. Oh, is this the Chongyang skill you learned? Xiaolongnu chuckled, the golden bell flew back to her sleeve, and she smiled sweetly. Okay, I've embarrassed the Grandmaster. I'll go down and accompany him right away. Hao Daitong's face was bleak. He snatched the sword from his disciple Lu Qingju and was about to slash his neck with it. However, just as he raised his sword, he was interrupted by a stone. He turned his head and saw their headmaster Ma Yu. Winning and losing are common, but the pain is that if you lose a battle, you have to cut your neck. Even if there are 18 heads, they will all be cut off. After saying that, Ma Yu signaled to other fellow disciples to take Hao Dadong away for treatment, while he faced Xiaolongnu head on. Miss Long, Yarngua is my Chongyang Palace disciple after all. You took my disciple away without reason. This is unacceptable no matter how you look at it. You must give an explanation. Di Fan felt that Xiaolongnu might not be able to win the argument, so he stepped forward and said, "Junior sister, let me have a word with him." Junior sister is ignorant of worldly affairs and has never even left the ancient tomb sect. How can she argue with this old bull-nose? After all, how could a headmaster who could go against the wishes of the founder and accept the goodwill of the Jin Kingdom and Mongolia without being slandered by the martial arts world be someone as simple-minded as my junior sister? After hearing Di Fan's evaluation of the old Taoist in front of him, Xiaolongnu decisively chose to hand over the battlefield to her senior brother. With a tap of her toes, her body retreated back to Di Fan. "Big brother, I'm counting on you." "Nothing, I am also from the ancient tomb sect, and Yarngua is also my disciple, so I should contribute to the ancient tomb sect." Nodding, Di Fan cleared up the messy thoughts in his mind and pulled Yarngua to Mar Yu. "Hello, Master Mar." "Hello. You must be Uncle Chaoyin's eldest disciple Defan, right? I held you in my arms when we were little." Mar Yu smiled and nodded. "Damn, this old man uses his family connections to pressure others as soon as he comes. He is really not a good person." Xiaolongnu blinked her eyes. It was just a simple sentence, but it actually contained such a profound meaning. Senior brother is so amazing, I don't even understand it. Forget about our old friendship. There is a love-hate relationship between Master Chongyang and the founder of my sect. I'm afraid that if I call you uncle, my master will crawl out of his grave and slap me to death. I wonder how you, an old man like you, can answer this." Xiaolongnu looked towards Mar Yu. As expected, the old Taoist touched his nose, as if he was unable to refute the fact that his master had abandoned his beloved. "Senior brother is awesome. Today, you and I will just talk about Yarngua. Guer, take off your shirt." "Yes, master." Yarngua took off his shirt without saying anything. Then, the scars all over his body were clearly displayed in front of everyone. There are scattered scratches on the small body, which can be seen at a glance as injuries caused by rolling down the hillside. There are fist-sized marks, which are injuries from being beaten during a fight. The dark blue marks on the shoulders are scars left from carrying water for many years. "Master Mar, when we found Yarngua at the foot of the hill yesterday, he was already dying. This hill is not very high. If an average person rolls down, as long as his head doesn't hit a big rock, he will at most be slightly injured. It is absolutely impossible that even the healing medicine of our sect, Jade Bee Syrup, can't save him. To be honest, when he said he was a disciple of Chongyang Palace, we also said that we would send him back. But he insisted on not wanting to, saying that he would be beaten to death if he went back. Master, may I ask, aren't these scars all over his body enough to indicate that there is something wrong? Or do you think that even if a child is being taught, a teacher can be so cruel and beat him to death to be considered a successful teacher?" Every word Di Fan said made sense, and he had the injuries all over his body as evidence. Behind him, Granny Sun had cried once when she was helping Yarngua take a bath yesterday. Today, under Di Fan's questioning, she couldn't help but cover her mouth and sobbed again. Respecting the old and loving the young is the traditional virtue of the Chinese nation. The evidence is irrefutable. Even if Mar Yu wanted to refute it by teaching, he was powerless to speak. Mar Yu remained silent, but Zhou Chuji, who was standing beside him, had already seen through it with eyes reddened and roared in anger. "Zhao Jijing! Get over here! Uncle Master!" Zhao Jijing lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhou Chuji. "I handed Yarngua over to you, and this is how you taught him? Also, you said Yarngua was unlearned and didn't he study the techniques you taught him? Seriously, I'm not even going to talk about whether you taught him or not. He fetched water and cooked every day, and he got injured countless times, so how did he find time to practice? This is how you treat the person I handed over to you?" Zhou Chuji was angry at Zhao Jijing for deceiving his superiors and hiding the truth from his subordinates. He was also angry at him for treating Yan Kang's son like that, and thirdly, he was also ashamed and angry for his senior brother Ma Yu, who was humiliated by being questioned. I was wrong. Zhao Jijing knew that he had no way to defend himself, so he simply bowed his head and admitted his mistake. He was Wang Chuyi's first disciple, he couldn't be beaten to death. Ma Yu thought the same, so he looked at Yarn Guo and said, this matter is indeed the fault of Chongyang Palace. If you are willing to return, I am willing to accept you as my disciple and teach you personally. This kind of thing will never happen again. Are you willing? I don't want to. Yarn Guo shouted back, even if I am accepted as your disciple, what does it matter? If you are not here, they will still bully me. I don't trust you bunch of stinky Taoists. I want to stay here. Di Fan shrugged. When I talked to Yarn Guo at the beginning, he also answered like this. Besides, I don't know martial arts yet, and he doesn't want to go back to your Chongyang Palace. Next, junior sister will decide on Yarn Guo's fate. To be honest, I really want to send this Avildor back, so that my junior sister won't be seduced by him. It's a pity that the Chuanjin sect is really a waste of human resources. Yarn Guo is destined to be extraordinary in the future. It's better to let the Chuanjin sect be completely disbanded in this generation, and not let it stay and cause trouble to others. Xiaolongnu heard her brother's voice, so there is no Chuanjin sect in this generation. Well, if that's the case, Yarn Guo really can't be left to Chuanjin sect. Well, to avenge my master. Decisive, Xiaolongnu took the initiative to stand up without waiting for Defan to give her a signal. Now, I am accepting Yarn Guo into the ancient tomb sect. Do you have any objections? Senior brother. Zhou Chuji looked towards Ma Yu, with a pleading look in his eyes. But, things have come to this point, and with the extremely sinister hatred in Yarn Guo's eyes. Ma Yu knew that if he forced him to stay, he would only leave behind a hateful scourge. Forget it, since I can't keep her, I'll just let her go. He took out 2 secret books from his arms and threw them at Xiaolongnu. Miss Long, after what happened to the Chuanjin sect, we are too ashamed to accept Yarn Guo as our disciple. These 2 books of skills are the Chuanjin sect's apology gift to Guo. I hope Miss Long can teach him carefully and make sure he doesn't go astray. Oh, don't worry. Even if I can't teach Yarn Guo well, I think he will feel happier than if he had spent his life in Chongyang. Di Fan responded to Ma Yu bluntly and turned around to rescue him. Guo, follow me. Yes, master, please rest assured. In the future, I, Yarn Guo, will surely spread my fame in the ancient tomb. Chapter 10, The Nature of Martial Arts, and the Search for Secret Manuals. After returning to the ancient tomb, Yarn Guo sat down on a chair angrily and complained, Master, why don't you let your uncle teach me martial arts first? I can learn other cultural subjects later. You don't want me to be unable to beat those stinky Taoist priests in the future, do you? I have said a lot of harsh words today. Oh, I see. Di Fan glanced at him and didn't take his words to heart at all. If you practice martial arts without practicing the basics, it will all be in vain when you grow old. If you learn martial arts without learning literature, you will end up being a reckless person. Teaching you martial arts without letting you learn about morality is the greatest harm to you. I don't want your future to be that you not only fail to become a great hero, but become a scourge instead. Xiaolongnu looked at her senior brother and did not intervene in the confrontation between him and Yarn Guo, because she also felt that what the senior brother said was right. After all, she was brought up by her senior brother. Naturally, she also knows the key to cultural morality. For example, senior sister Li Morcho relied on the fact that she was 1 or 2 years older than her senior brother and didn't listen to his advice at all. It wasn't long since she came down from the mountain, and she was cheated of money and sex. In the end, in order to seek revenge, she became the public enemy of the martial arts world. Master, are you going to teach me or not? Yarn Guo was a child after all, and after being perfunctorily treated a few times, he couldn't help his patience and started to act like a spoiled child. Well, it's a bit eye-catching. Stop. Di Fan decisively and proactively stopped Yarn Guo's action. I have a lot of martial arts secrets in my hands. You can find whatever you want to learn. It's just that your current personality is really not suitable for martial arts training. Why? Yarn Guo was dissatisfied and asked loudly. Di Fan chuckled, do you know that in the martial arts world, no matter which school, they all emphasize harmony between man and nature? In the Chuanjin sect, do you know why Wen Chongyang can become the #1 martial artist, while his disciples are neither high nor low, and can't even beat your uncle Gua? Why? Yang Guo blinked. He was also very curious about this matter. On the side, Xiaolongnu also looked over, because when Diifan talked about this matter again, his inner voice was exactly the same as what he said. This also showed that what he said was the conclusion he came to after careful consideration. The Chuanjin sect's martial arts not only require familiarity with the Tao, but also an unwavering heart. In troubled times, the body does not care about anything, while the Lao Jun carries a sword to save the people. In times of peace, the Buddhist temple welcomes pilgrims, while the Taoist retreats to the mountains and forests. The Daoist teachings emphasize entering the world and saving the world. During the Anti-Jin War, Wang Chongyang and the Tomb sect's master Lin Chaoying were both strong men under Zhong Zedi's command, who fought against the Jin soldiers on the front line. Even though they failed in the end, they retreated to Zhongnan Mountain and built a large warehouse in the Tomb sect, preparing countless supplies, thinking about fighting back to Huanglong Mansion at any time. This is also the key to why Wang Chongyang was able to cultivate the highest Taoist martial arts Xiantian Gong and become the #1 person in Taoism. But what about the Chuanjin sect now? Just as you said, everyone is despicable and shameless, and can't even stick to their master's principles. They made peace with the Jin kingdom and made peace with Mongolia. With such courage, they still want to follow Wang Chongyang's old path. Is this funny? So Guo, if you really want to defeat the Chuanjin sect, or even stand in Wang Chongyang's position, you must first establish your ideals when you are young. This is the key to your future success. I'm right. Anyone who has become the supreme one in the history of martial arts has created his own martial arts school. Yang Guo was able to become a great hero in the future because of his separation from his junior sister, and created the Desolate Palm. As long as I am here in this life, I will definitely not let my junior sister make the same mistake again. Well, I will teach him my powerful martial arts as compensation. Yang Guo obviously didn't quite believe what Diifan said, and turned his gaze to Xiaolongnu. Uncle Master, is what Master said true? Xiaolongnu picked up the bowl and chopsticks, with an unusually cold expression on her face. Master, your liberal arts knowledge was also taught by your master. Next time, if I hear you doubt what your master said again, you can get out of the ancient tomb. The cold and frosty words frightened Yang Guo so much that he shuddered. If you don't want to tell me, then don't tell me. You keep chasing me away. Am I still a disciple of the Tomb clan? Yang Guo sat back in his seat with a wronged look on his face, tears streaming down his face. This time, even Diifan was surprised. Didn't they say that Yang Guo grew up cheating people in the market? Why is he so fragile? Oh. I think I was wrong. No matter how old he is, no matter how cunning he is just a 12 or 13-year-old boy. We have given him warmth, and now the junior sister is scolding him mercilessly. Isn't it unfair? That's really weird. He really treats us as family. Alright, stop crying. It was your uncle who scolded you too harshly. I'll ask your uncle to teach you a set of heavenly net palm as an apology. HMPH. HMPH. Master, tell me, are you telling the truth? As he spoke, Yang Guo glanced at Xiaolongnu stealthily. Xiaolongnu said nothing, but just added a piece of bamboo shoots to Yang Guo's bowl. Her intention to show goodwill was obvious. Thank you uncle, thank you master. Suddenly, Yang Guo smiled happily and started eating happily. Granny Sun watched all this with a smile. She was the one who entered the ancient tomb sect together with the young lady Lin Chaoying, and she had watched both Diifan and Xiaolongnu grow up, and of course she also knew that Diifan had many ways of educating his children. That is to say, the second brother Li Morcho disobeyed discipline and was tricked out of the tomb. Otherwise, it would be so lively if the tomb sweeping sect had another little guy. Little brat. Oh, by the way, judging from the way junior sister looks, she is becoming increasingly cold. She must have started to learn the Jade Girl Heart Sutra that master taught her, right? Well, that thing has serious consequences. If you practice it to the end, you may become heartless and heartless. You can't let your junior sister go astray. It seems that some of the things under the ancient tomb should be taken out. Recalling it, there seems to be a Jinduanzhang, healing, acupuncture, and general principles under the tomb. The others, such as the demon subduing fist, soul stealing technique, and the snake walking and raccoon flipping technique, are all side skills, not as good as the ancient tomb sect's own skills, useless. When night comes, I have to go and get it out myself. Well, I have to think of a way to keep it a secret from Junior's sister. Di Fan was thinking, while eating his food, he was fancifully thinking about how to escape. Little did he know that his thoughts had been completely heard by Xiaolongnu, who decided to follow his movements at night in case something happened to the senior brother. Anyway, as long as Xiaolongnu doesn't tell anyone, Di Fan can't catch her. Who made him have blocked meridians and not know martial arts? Chapter 11, Junior Sister, you are a dragon, not a cat. At night, when it was quiet, Di Fan sneaked out of the bedroom, lit a candle after leaving the room, for fear of waking Yarngu up. In the dead of night, murder and arson. Par. The day of stealing jade and stealing fragrance. How about sneaking into Junior Sister's bedroom and taking a peek? See how enchanting the rumored sleeping on a rope is. No, it's light and graceful. In the back, Xiaolongnu listened to Di Fan's inner thoughts in the dark and watched his head turning furtively towards his bedroom, her face flushed with shame. Big brother, you are so mean. Humph. If you really dare to go, I will smash your head. Xiaolongnu thought angrily, picked up the sword and the scabbard in her hand, ready to hit Di Fan on the butt at any time. Even if she was blamed, she was right, because it was you, the eldest brother, who was sneaky. Forget it, forget it. Just as Xiaolongnu was ready, her inner voice came out again. My junior sister is so skilled in martial arts, and I don't have the skill of Qinggong, I will definitely be discovered. Besides, as a gentleman, why would I need to peek? As for the figure of the junior sister, it is absolutely amazing. I'd better go find the secret book first. Otherwise, when Yinqian comes to teach me, what kind of master will I be? With all his wild thoughts, Di Fan headed towards Lin Qiaoyin's tomb. Arriving in the tomb, Di Fan obediently bowed to Lin Qiaoyin's tablet, muttering something. Master, it's not that I don't want to learn your martial arts, but your Jade Girl Heart Sutra has too many consequences. If I want to learn it later, I have to practice with men naked. My meridians are blocked, so I can't take on another task, and I can't let Guar harm my junior sister again. I have no choice but to learn the 9 Yin manual. Please don't blame me for not promoting our martial arts when Yarngu finds a wife in the future. I will let him learn the Jade Girl Heart Sutra with his wife. As he spoke, he did not forget to criticize in his heart. Just that broken Heart Sutra, learning it will make people lose their emotions and nature. I don't want my junior sister to become that high and mighty fairy, because that kind of personality will cause her a lot of harm in the future. It's better to stop learning such harmful martial arts as soon as possible. Later, listening to Di Fan's muttering and inner thoughts, Xiaolongnu couldn't help but frown slightly. The consequences of the Jade Girl Heart Sutra are so serious? No wonder she feels that she has lost her humanity since she practiced the Heart Sutra. She is becoming more and more indifferent to her senior brother and mother-in-law. It turns out that it was all caused by the Heart Sutra. Well, if the technique that senior brother finds is stronger than the Heart Sutra, why don't we just switch to this technique? As Xiaolongnu thought about it, she watched Di Fan burn incense and become his disciple. Then, she opened the coffin that belonged to her and jumped down. When she found that Di Fan's figure suddenly disappeared, Xiaolongnu hurried to catch up. Only then did she discover that there was an invisible passage under the coffin where she would lie in the future. It seemed that it was connected to somewhere else. Faintly looking at the firelight below, Xiaolongnu hesitated for a moment, then followed. Entering the passage, Xiaolongnu looked ahead and saw Di Fan putting the candle aside, sitting cross-legged on the ground, copying the faintly visible words on the wall with a pen in one hand and paper in the other. The 9 Yin manual left by Wang Chongyang is really complete. As I expected, the chapters one wanted, especially the Yijinduangu chapter and the Juyin general principles, are all here. The others, healing and acupressure, are all here too. I quickly copied them down and will teach my junior sister on a cloudy day. Just that broken Jade Girl Heart Sutra, if she continues to practice it, the fairy-like little sister will definitely become Nun Mihu. Xiaolongnu walked slowly to the front, and chapters of the 9 Yin scriptures appeared in her eyes. The way of heaven is to reduce the excess and replenish the deficiency. Therefore, the void overcomes the full, and the deficiency overcomes the excess. Its meaning is broad, its principle is profound, and its interest is deep. The images of heaven and earth are divided, the signs of yin and yang are listed, the causes of change are shown, and the signs of life and death are explained. The weak overcomes the strong, the soft overcomes the hard. Everyone in the world knows this, but no one can do it. The softest thing in the world can overcome the hardest thing in the world. Exerting power from the 5 fingers, nothing can be broken, destroying the enemy's head like cutting through rotten soil. People only know that sitting still and thinking is the way to improve one's virtue, but they do not know that the most accomplished people are able to achieve perfect concentration and wisdom, cultivate both the body and the mind, and are able to be still and yet active, and to be at peace even when they are in trouble. In the general outline, countless supreme martial arts appeared in her eyes, and the internal force in her body actually automatically circulated towards the new meridians, and then collided with the original walking path. A muffled groan came from Xiaolongnu's mouth, and a trickle of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. Xiaolongnu knew that she had a stitch in the side. As expected, the advanced martial arts were worthy of being advanced martial arts. Just one glance at it almost made her change her practice route, her internal energy, and even caused her some internal injuries. But it was this muffled groan that woke Diaifan up. Blind. Looking back, Diaifan was so scared that he jumped 3 meters high from the ground. You, Junior sister, when did you come? Shit. Junior sister, your zodiac sign is dragon, that's why you're called little dragon girl. You're not little cat girl. Don't you walk without making any sound. He was so scary, I almost had a heart attack. Xiaolongnu didn't have the heart to care about what Diaifan was thinking right now. She pointed at the techniques on the wall and asked, Big brother, what are these? You haven't answered me yet. Why are you here? Hurry up and change the subject. Give me some time to think about how to fool people. Big brother, you don't know Qinggong, and you landed so heavily that I was awakened when you passed by my bedroom door, so you followed me naturally. Big brother, you haven't told me how you found this. Moreover, it is the highest martial arts, the 9 yin manual. Xiaolongnu pressed the issue step by step. She certainly didn't want to hear the truth from Diaifan. What she wanted to know was what Diaifan was thinking. This Diaifan blinked and looked at the tomb wall in panic. Suddenly, he pointed at the words at the beginning of the 9 yin manual. Look at this. I found this by accident. It was left by Wen Chongyang blah blah blah. Phew. Fortunately, there is a message left by Wen Chongyang that can be used to trick Junior sister. What can I say? Am I telling you that in the future you will be injured while practicing the Jade Girl Heart Sutra, be attacked by Li Morcho, have the will to die, and only discover the secret passage when you sleep in the coffin? Or will you put down the dragon-breaking stone in the future just to stop Li Morcho? Oh. When did the little junior sister become so smart? This makes me, as the senior brother, feel very stressed. Oh, so, you saw it accidentally. Xiaolongnu's heart tightened. It turned out that the Jade Girl Heart Sutra was really troublesome. Moreover, would her senior sister come to attack her? Chapter 12. Change the technique and finally learn martial arts. No, Master once said that senior sister is impetuous and prone to extremes, and that the Tomb clan must not be handed over to senior sister. In order to protect the Tomb sect. Master, please forgive me for not being able to practice the Jade Girl Heart Sutra for the time being. I have to practice the 9 yin scriptures instead. Don't worry, when I find a disciple who can become my wife, I will definitely promote the Jade Girl Heart Sutra. Xiaolongnu already knew the disadvantages of practicing the Jade Girl Heart Sutra, so she naturally chose to give up. Well, after all, the only men in the cave who could choose to cooperate in the practice were the eldest brother and Yarngua. Senior brother Yarngua said that if I were to end up alone in the future, I would definitely not choose. Senior brother's words. Wow, how embarrassing. Xiaolongnu's face turned red, and it was only under the candlelight that Diaifan did not notice her abnormality, and the reason why she suddenly had this thought was because of the conflict between their skills just now, and because she was still young 16 years old, her mind was unstable, and her cultivation was not deep, so naturally the state of mind cultivated by the Jade Girl Heart Sutra was broken. Basically, it can be considered as a self-destructive technique, and her personality will gradually return to that of a normal girl as time goes by and her techniques are modified. Junior sister? Are you listening to me? Seeing that Xiaolongnu was in a daze, Diaifan couldn't help but stop explaining for a moment and waved his hand in front of Xiaolongnu. Xiaolongnu was awakened, and fearing that her embarrassing situation would be discovered, she hurried to make amends. Big brother, I believe you. Please copy it down first. On a yin day, let's practice together. What did I just say? My junior sister actually agreed to practice. Did time jump? Did I forget a part of time? Fan blinked and looked at Xiaolongnu stupidly. Just now, he was still thinking about how to trick Xiaolongnu into changing her cultivation. Xiaolongnu looked at the eldest senior brother coldly. You still want to fool me? Why, big brother, you don't want me to practice the technique you found? Oh, of course not. What's our relationship? What's mine is yours. Fan quickly patted his chest to show his loyalty. Little junior sister, has she evolved? From being stubborn to being stubborn. Blocking both ends. You are so good, big brother, you slandered me secretly, and you dared to call me blocking both ends. Humph. Xiaolongnu glared at Fan in displeasure and said, I'll leave the task of copying the skills to you. Remember to copy them all. I'm going to go back to sleep first. As she spoke, Xiaolongnu used her Qinggong skills to return the way she came. Fan couldn't help but twitch his eyes. Junior sister, are you treating yourself like a cootie? Oh, I'm the eldest brother after all, can you be a little respectful to me? No, the current Xiaolongnu doesn't seem to be as cold as before. Instead, she looks more like when she just came to the tomb sect and has grown up a little. Fan couldn't help but recall the little sister at that time. She followed him all day long with her stumbling steps, saying in a baby voice, Big brother, wait for me, big brother, wait for me. From time to time, he would pinch my chubby, baby fat cheeks. I miss the old days so much. Fan, who was lost in his memories, finally came back to reality. He looked up at the 9 yin scriptures that covered the entire wall. Well, he had better copy the skills obediently. At the stairs, Xiaolongnu listened to the elder brother's thoughts and rubbed her slightly red face. Humph. You stinky elder brother, I didn't follow you when I was a child. Then, with a slightly rosy face, she returned to her room. Well, she had a very beautiful dream. Early the next morning, Fan staggered out of the room with dark circles under his eyes. Master? Didn't you sleep well last night? Yanghua looked at Fan curiously. What happened last night? Fan glared at Xiaolongnu in extreme displeasure. Nothing, I just spent the whole night copying secret manuals to teach you martial arts last night. Junior sister is really good at exploiting people. If it weren't for your beauty, you would look at me. It seems that being beautiful is already the biggest asset. By the way, junior sister is really getting prettier and prettier. Listening to Fan's increasingly excessive thoughts, Xiaolongnu glared at Fan coquettishly. However, that glance was not only harmless, but also made Fan's thoughts more and more imaginative. Big brother. Xiaolongnu really didn't want to listen anymore, so she coughed twice to wake Fan from his daze. I asked you to copy the ancient tomb sect's Supreme Heart Sutra yesterday. Are there any mistakes or omissions? Fan rolled his eyes. I have already copied it, and I checked it several times. The ancient tomb sect's supreme secret technique. Yin Yin is the 9 yin manual. I didn't expect that junior sister would be so shameless. Xiaolongnu resisted the urge to beat up her senior brother. Ever since the conflict of internal energy last night, she found it increasingly difficult to control her emotions. It was the residual state of mind that helped her suppress the urge to take action, otherwise, she would let senior brother know why the flowers bloomed so red. Then let's study together starting today. Okay, then let's start with the Yijinjin Guzhang. Fan nodded and took out a secret book that he had just finished writing. He could faintly smell the scent of ink. To learn the 9 yin manual, one must start with the most valuable foundation building technique. The Yijin Duan Jiyu chapter is a supreme technique that can be compared to the Shaolin Yijin Jing and Shi Sui Jing to improve the human body's aptitude. It is also the most rare foundation building technique. Whether I can learn martial arts in the future depends on this. Is there a technique that can change one's aptitude? It seems like I really need to help senior brother practice it. Deep in her heart, Xiaolongnu secretly made a decision. Then, after breakfast, Xiaolongnu started the class and began to formally teach the two of them the mental skills. The so-called true transmission is a single sentence, false transmission is 10,000 books. If you don't have a master to teach you the inner strength in the martial arts world, you can't even understand the inner strength, let alone accumulate inner strength and the root of inner energy in the meridians. Not to mention Yarngua, even Di Fan completely put aside his wild thoughts and studied seriously with Xiaolongnu. Without hearing any more inner voices, Xiaolongnu nodded with satisfaction and taught the two of them even more patiently. By the way, she also used the Yi Jin Jian Gupian to clear the meridians for Di Fan and change his aptitude. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, another 4 years have passed. Xiaolongnu is now about 20 years old, and her demeanor has become more charming. And because she gave up practicing the Jade Girl Heart Sutra, her temperament has gradually changed from pale and fairy-like to more human. Although she is still aloof to outsiders, she has returned to the state of a normal girl in front of her own people, and has the same joys, sorrows, anger and happiness as a normal girl. She is like a fairy who has come down to the mortal world. Chapter 13, Li Morcho attacks. After 4 years of study, not only Xiaolongnu has changed, but Di Fan and Yarngua have also changed a lot. Yarngua, at the age of 18, became a handsome young man. Di Fan also became more handsome and outstanding. Especially in the 3rd year, after opening up his meridians and starting to practice martial arts, his temperament changed from a weak scholar to a scholar who could read poetry and kill people on horseback. His cultivation was also able to develop internal strength, becoming a small master in the early stage of the acquired realm. Unfortunately, although her meridians were open, her aptitude was too poor. Even with the help of the 9-yin manual, Xiaolongnu was certain that she could only break through to the middle stage of the acquired realm in her lifetime at best, and there was absolutely no possibility of further advancement. As for the other two, Xiaolongnu has completely transformed the inner strength of the Jade Girl Heart Sutra into the 9-yin inner strength, and has reached the level of acquired absolute madness, which is the level of the 5 absolutes. Yarngua is also in the middle stage of acquired madness, similar to Qiu Chuji and Hao Datong. On this day, after the 3 of them learned martial arts, the master and the disciple lay on the grass and flowers in the back mountain. Only Xiaolongnu was leaning on a tree branch with her legs hanging down, looking charming and lazy. Big brother, we have been in the mountain for quite some time. Can we go down the mountain someday? Suddenly, Xiaolongnu uttered a word that made Yarngua's eyes light up with excitement, while Di Fan was stunned. Oh! Junior sister, the 10,000-year-old stay-at-home girl, actually wants to go down the mountain. Did I hear her wrongly? TSK, my training finally worked. I told you, a beautiful young girl would become stupid if she stayed in the ancient tomb all day. She should go down the mountain and walk more. She should cry when she needs to and laugh when she needs to. This is the attitude a beautiful girl should have. Alas, it's a pity that her personality is still a bit introverted after all. Not as fun as the girls in my previous life. The little dragon girl on the tree couldn't help rolling her eyes when she heard what Di Fan said in his heart. Humph! You dare to praise other girls in front of me, senior brother, you must have never been beaten by your junior sister, right? Well, the sparring on Yin Ri must teach senior brother a big lesson. Master. Yarngua also said, Master, you are right. I have been in the mountain for 4 years. Master and master, you must have stayed longer. Why don't we go down the mountain and have some fun? I think you are just bored and want to go down the mountain to play. Di Fan slapped Yarngua on the head in anger. Have you finished copying the Tao Te Ching that I asked you to copy every day? Have you understood the meaning of the pure heart and universal goodness mantra? And have you understood the meaning of the Taoist scriptures such as Baopuzi, Zhuangzi, and Liu Dao? Have I ever told you that the skills you are learning now, plus the skills I will teach you in the future, are all the highest martial arts of Taoism? With your half-baked level, you still want to sweep through Chuanjin and step on the 5 unique skills. Har, why don't you think better? Master. The corner of Yarngua's mouth twitched violently. That's too much. I'm still a child. TSK, you are only 16 years old, and you have the nerve to say that. How could I say that? Yin, it was you who said that, master, those under the age of 18 are all children. Yarngua stuck out his tongue and heard someone approaching from behind, and it was a very familiar voice. He quickly rolled over to avoid Di Fan's head blow, hid behind Granny Sun, and made a face at Di Fan. Granny Sun patted Yarngua's forehead kindly and said, Little monkey, you made your master angry again, didn't you? You deserve a beating. As he said this, he pretended to hit him twice. Yarngua cooperated and cried out in pain, which made Di Fan on the side feel both amused and helpless. They say that the relationship between generations is closer, but no one told me that the master-disciple relationship in a sect is also closer after a generation, right? Grandma, am I still your cute baby? Xiaolongnu almost vomited when she heard what the eldest brother said. The eldest brother was good in every way, except that he was quite shameless sometimes. Just as everyone was having fun and Xiaolongnu was complaining about her senior brother's unreliability, suddenly, Xiaolongnu stood up from the treetop and warned everyone. There's an expert coming up the mountain. How high? Fan frowned slightly and asked. Very high, probably reaching the late stage of the acquired realm, about the same level as their headmaster Ma Yu. And, judging from the footsteps, they seem to be my disciples in the ancient tomb. Xiaolongnu frowned, somewhat puzzled. Fan reacted immediately and realized that there was only one person who could come during this time period. Second apprentice sister Li Morcho. Oh, by the way, she should be here by this time. If I remember correctly, according to the original history, Xiaolongnu should have been practicing the Jade Girl Heart Sutra with Yarngua in the flowers, and could not be disturbed. However, she was caught and peeped by Yin Jiping and Zhao Jijing, resulting in severe internal injuries. Feeling that he could not survive, he drove Yarngua out of the ancient tomb sect. He was discovered by Li Morcho, who was about to return to the mountain. In the end, he put down the dragon-breaking stone, and they almost died in the ancient tomb. Only then did Xiaolongnu realize that if her senior brother hadn't been around, she would have had to practice the Jade Girl Heart Sutra with Yarngua, and even be discovered by someone. Xiaolongnu, who had regained her girlish nature, suddenly felt extremely ashamed. If Yarngua had not become familiar with her over the years and completely treated him as a junior, Xiaolongnu would have drawn her sword and stabbed the guy who had brought disaster to her to death on the spot. Well, even now, she glared at Yarngua very unhappily. It's all your fault. Yarngua shuddered, silently glanced at Xiaolongnu, and decisively hid behind Grandma's son. Well, he didn't know why, since he came to the ancient tomb, his uncle had always taken good care of him. But there was one problem: he would glare at him from time to time, and was always full of murderous intent. This kind of thing happens frequently, making him very conflicted and scared. The Jade Girl Heart Sutra is a nuisance anyway, so why not let Junior Sister give it directly to second Junior Sister? After all, the ancient tomb sect only has a few small birds and a set of skills. Why would we be reluctant to give them up? As long as the 9-yin manual is not leaked out, it will be fine. Speaking of which, the ancient tomb sect's Qinggong, heavenly netpalm and other martial arts are really amazing. If they were put into the martial arts world, they would be first-class martial arts, no worse than those magical skills. Master Lin Qiaoying is really a very powerful person. Big brother, second sister is coming up the mountain. How do you think we should deal with it? The following thoughts were all praising Lin Qiaoying's words. Xiaolongnu had long been accustomed to Di Fan's habitual deviation of thoughts. She was too lazy to listen and took the initiative to interrupt Di Fan's random thoughts. This. Di Fan hesitated for a moment. I wonder what Junior Sister thinks of the Jade Girl Heart Sutra. It's just a set of exercises. Xiaolongnu laughed and said, the consequences will be huge, and the power is average. It is not as magical as the Yi Jing Bone Forging chapter, and even less than the general outline. Chapter 14, The Sisters Reconcile, and Li Morcho returns to the ancient tomb sect. What if second Junior Sister wants it? Di Fan asked again tentatively. I hope that Junior Sister can put aside past grudges and pass on the Jade Girl Heart Sutra. Speaking of which, the second Junior Sister has always been impulsive, and her behavior became extremely extreme after being deceived by Lu Zhanyuan. If I give the Jade Girl Heart Sutra to my second apprentice sister to practice, will she be able to become a Li Morcho on the level of Nun Mi Hu? I'm really looking forward to it. Feeling Di Fan's bad taste, Xiaolongnu couldn't help rolling her eyes. She realized that she had been rolling her eyes more and more since she could hear the thoughts of her senior brother. Well, her big watery eyes shouldn't become ugly because of rolling her eyes, right? Humph. It's all the fault of the senior brother. Then give it to her, Xiaolongnu said unhappily, even with a rare hint of coquettishness in her words. Okay, give it to her then. Di Fan heaved a sigh of relief and patted Xiaolongnu's horse madly in his heart. The little junior sister is mighty. The little junior sister is domineering. I always thought that the junior sister had a problem with Li Morcho. It seems that I was misled by the original novel. I told you, How could a goddess like Xiaolongnu be so stingy with a copy of the Heart Sutra? Xiaolongnu couldn't stand her senior brother's compliments to her, so she quickly reminded them, second senior sister will be here soon, everyone get ready. Everyone patted their clothes and looked quietly at the direction they were coming from. After a while, a beautiful girl in a Taoist robe showed up first. Then a small donkey staggered in front of everyone, and the Taoist nun sitting on its back with a whisk in her hand was none other than the second senior sister of the ancient tomb sect, Li Morcho. It has to be said that Lin Yueru had an excellent eye for selecting female disciples. There is no need to say much about the stunning beauty of Xiaolongnu. Even the infamous red snake fairy in the martial arts world, if only in terms of appearance, is top-notch beauty. Even someone like Di Fan, who was used to seeing beauties from later generations, couldn't help but be amazed and stunned by the grown-up Li Morcho. Big brother, little sister, long time no see. Her voice was soft and gentle, her demeanor was charming, and with her dark eyes, white teeth, and fair skin, she was truly an extremely outstanding beauty. Second junior sister, long time no see. 2. Di Fan and Xiaolongnu looked at her with complicated expressions. When they rebelled from the ancient tomb, it was because they refused to listen to their master Lin Yueru. It has been about 10 years since they last met. Yes, you heard it right. When Li Morcho left the ancient tomb, she was only 14 or 15 years old. After all, women in ancient times always got married very early, and the beginning of love at the age of 14 was considered late by others. For a long time, Xiaolongnu didn't speak, and Li Morcho didn't speak either. Di Fan looked left and right. Okay, I have to rely on me to break the deadlock. Everyone is at sunder, a little princess. Okay, if you guys don't say anything, can I, as the eldest senior brother, speak first? Sigh, I've endured too much as a senior brother. Second junior sister, it's been a long time since we last met. You said that day that you would never see each other again. What brings you here today? As he spoke, Di Fan displayed his elegance and refinement, like a graceful gentleman, neither impatient nor anxious, and very graceful. Hurry up and tell me, it's just a Heart Sutra, the sooner you take it, the sooner you get it. Xiaolongnu glanced at her senior brother. Har, just pretending. Li Morcho saw her senior brother, who was one of the best in the martial arts world, and recalled Lu Zhanyuan who had deceived her. She couldn't help but feel resentful. If she had known this, why did she follow Lu Zhanyuan, who was cheating on her, and leave? Staying in the ancient tomb, accompanying her senior brother, growing up together as childhood sweethearts, and then getting married, loving each other for a lifetime, wouldn't it be great? With this thought in mind, the words he answered could not help but sound resentful. Big brother, are you so fed up with me? Can't you even let me stay a little longer? When these words came out, everyone at the scene was stunned. Hong Lingbo stared at his always cruel master in amazement. Could these words, which sounded like those of a girl in the boudoir talking to her lover, really come from the mouth of his cruel and ruthless master who killed people without blinking an eye? Yang Guo and Granny Sun looked at Xiaolongnu with a gossipy look on their faces, then looked at Li Morcho, and were thinking in their hearts, who will Master Xiefan marry in the future? As for Xiaolongnu, a sense of vigilance suddenly rose in her heart. That was the timely voice in her mind that interrupted her wild thoughts that were about to appear. Old second, did you take the wrong medicine? You look more terrifying than if you were to hit me directly. It's beautiful, but she kills their whole family at any time. I'm too small to handle it. Besides, after the establishment of the Yuan Dynasty, we will travel through time and space, and we don't want to leave any worries here. Otherwise, is it that my junior sister is not pretty, or is it that my junior sister is not well behaved enough? Why marry someone who is as beautiful as a fairy instead of a vicious person? I am not stupid. The junior sister glanced at Di Fan and said, "Oh, you have good taste." Ahem. Di Fan was almost frightened by Li Morcho's words and said quickly, "Don't. If you have something to say, just say it." Second junior sister, you left the ancient tomb 10 years ago. The only relationship between us is brother and sister as children. Don't talk too much. Really? Humph, man. Li Morcho glanced at Di Fan coquettishly, as if she had returned to the time when she was in the ancient tomb. Well, she was young at that time, and the eldest senior brother who had memories of his past life was more mature than her, so she often said things like she would marry him when she grew up to tease him. Unfortunately, things are gone and we can't go back to the past. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Actually, I just want to pay my respects to my master's spirit tablet and return to the ancient tomb sect. This can. Before Di Fan could say anything, Xiaolongnu agreed immediately, jumped off the treetop and went towards the ancient tomb. Come along, master kept repeating your name before she died, saying that she shouldn't have let you go when you were so unstable, which ruined your life. Your return can be regarded as fulfilling master's wish. Master. Xiaolongnu's words hit Li Morcho like a bolt from the blue. The memories of the past, Lin Qiaoyin's teachings, and the scenes of her teaching her skills and reading little by little, reappeared in front of her. Di Fan sighed. Li Morcho is also a pitiful person. No, it should be said that all the people in the Condor Heroes are pitiful. Let's go, second junior sister. Master has been waiting for you for 10 years. Di Fan turned around and followed Xiaolongnu away. Yarngua looked at Di Fan, then looked at the extra uncle. His face was conflicted for a while, but in the end he decided to leave with Di Fan. Seeing that Li Morcho had not moved for a long time, Granny Sun couldn't help but be kind-hearted and walked over to hug Li Morcho. Xiao Morcho, welcome home. Mother-in-law. Morcho is back. Chapter 15, Transmitting Skills, Talking. There is no need to say much about what happened next. Originally, Li Morcho's hatred for the ancient tomb was not too great because of the presence of the sensible Di Fan. She just felt guilty and did not come back. Now that she had been forgiven by Xiaolongnu and Di Fan, she was like a wanderer returning home, a weary bird returning to its nest. How could she continue to pretend? She immediately cried and worshipped Lin Qiaoyin's tablet, then pulled Xiaolongnu to chatter about her childhood funniness. Little junior sister, you are so beautiful now. Back then, you were chubby and had little hands and feet like white radishes, so cute. Especially the senior brother, he loved you so much that I was jealous. The stories from my childhood were thrown out one after another. That is to say, Xiaolongnu had already stopped practicing the Jade Girl Heart Sutra, otherwise, she would have slapped the noisy senior sister in front of her unconscious and restored peace to the ancient tomb. But even so, Xiaolongnu still couldn't resist Li Morcho's enthusiasm and looked at Di Fan for help. Di Fan decisively turned his head, pulled Yarngua aside and summoned Hong Lingbo to ask about the matter, decisively ignoring the distress signal from the junior sister. You are the disciple accepted by second junior sister, right? Hong Lingbo. Greetings, master. How did you know Lingbo's name? Hong Lingbo bowed first, then asked curiously. Li Morcho, who was far away, heard the noise and said from afar, your uncle has been able to tell fortunes since he was a child. What's the point of figuring out your name? He even figured out your uncle's entry into the sect. Di Fan blushed for a moment. He didn't expect that. He just knew the age difference between Xiaolongnu and Li Morcho in the original novel. He just waited at the door every day that year. Hong Lingbo couldn't hear Di Fan's thoughts, and he really thought that the master uncle was able to predict the future. He became much more careful in his movements, fearing that he might offend the master uncle in front of him. How long have you been studying with your master? What martial arts of the ancient tomb sect have you learned? This. Hong Lingbo hesitated, not knowing how to answer. Di Fan shook his head speechlessly. It seemed that, as the original novel said, Li Morcho probably treated the two disciples she accepted as chores and didn't teach them much at all. He took another look at the other person, she was also very pretty. Never mind, Yarngua would definitely not have Xiaolongnu in the future, so just give him another good wife. Based on his impression of the return of the Condor Heroes, Hong Lingbo is indeed a rare candidate in the original novel who is suitable to be a wife. Whirr! He waved his hand and called Yarngua over. You have been practicing the martial arts of my ancient tomb school for some time. Please teach your niece the Chuanjin heart method given by Ma Yu, the ancient tomb school basic heart method, Qinggong, Chuanjin sword method given by Ma Yu, and Jade Girl sword method. Oh, by the way, let's teach you the Yijinduangu Pian together. Yes. I will obey your orders. Junior sister, please follow me. Yarngua knew at a glance that his master wanted to have a private chat, so he quickly asked Hong Lingbo to leave. Hong Lingbo looked at Li Morcho in the distance, and seeing that she did not object, she happily followed Yarn, because this also represented that her master really accepted her into the sect. She had taken care of her master for so long, and finally she could learn the real martial arts. After the two children left, Granny Sun also found an excuse to cook and left, leaving the place to her 3 fellow disciples. Big brother, when only the 3 of them were in the room, Li Morcho completely relaxed and said without any reservations, I only intend to recruit Hong Lingbo as a servant. With her qualifications, she is not worthy of inheriting the unique skills of the ancient tomb school. Li Morcho is quite proud. As a top female hero who can be compared with Wang Chongyang, Lin Qiaoyan's disciples must all be extremely talented. Even though the eldest senior brother cannot practice martial arts, he is good at fortune telling and has a divine appearance. The master always sighs that he was born at the wrong time. If he were born in a peaceful era, he would surely become a saint. What do you mean by worthy or not? You are already so old, but you still have such sectarianism. Not to mention, he is your disciple. We should not judge by merit but by hard work. On behalf of the ancient tomb sect, I will accept this disciple. Di Fan was annoyed and slapped Li Morcho on the head. The familiar force made Li Morcho's eyes red. She turned her head and pouted, Humph, if the senior brother likes it, then so be it. As a junior sister, how dare I express my opinion? You. Di Fan sighed, tell me about you. What's so good about being deceived by Lu Zhanyuan? And you're still stirring up blood and rain in the martial arts world. Don't you know to go back to the ancient tomb? Your home is here, but you don't ask your family to help you vent your anger when you're bullied. You just stand by yourself. You've suffered a lot in the past 10 years, right? After all, she was the junior sister that he had personally brought up. Even though she was the insidious, cunning, and vicious red snake fairy in the original story, Di Fan could never hate her. Just like a parent, he always thinks that his own child is the best. Big brother. Li Morcho lowered her head, I just don't have the face to go back to the mountain. I had such a bad relationship with my master. So what if she's still stiff? She's your master, like a mother to you, how can I say anything about you? Di Fan was so disappointed that he slapped Li Morcho on the back a few more times, taking the place of his master. It was these few slaps that completely eliminated the last bit of hatred that Li Morcho had for her master, leaving only guilt. Wu senior brother, I was wrong. When I heard the news that master had passed away, I didn't dare to go up the mountain to pay my respects. I just knelt down from a distance. I don't have the face to see Master Wu. Li Morcho threw herself into Di Fan's arms, crying loudly, and instantly soaked Di Fan's clothes. Di Fan sighed and patted Li Morcho on the shoulder. Our second junior sister, you are also a pitiful person. I hope that with my guidance since childhood and after practicing the Jade Girl Heart Sutra, she will be able to change. After all, it's the cub that I raised, so I have to take care of him myself. After Li Morcho was finally appeased, Xiaolongnu completely accepted her and told her about the changes in the ancient tomb in recent days. Yes, including the problem of the technique. The more Li Morcho listened, the more mysterious it seemed to her. How could there be so many mysterious things in her own ancient tomb? The Jade Girl Heart Sutra can actually change a person's state of mind in the dark cave under the tomb. There is the Nine Scriptures, a martial art that is known as the best in the world, and the disciple accepted by the senior brother was actually snatched from Chongyang Palace. Oh my god, what on earth did she miss? Li Morcho suddenly felt that she was obsessed with beauty and had left the ancient tomb, and was definitely possessed by an evil spirit. With so many good things, if she stayed in the ancient tomb to practice until she was invincible and then came out of the mountain, like Xiaolongnu, wouldn't that be great? Chapter 16, Coming Out of the Mountain. The first battle, the crazy Western poison Ouyang Feng. After finally accepting the changes in the ancient tomb, Xiaolongnu took the initiative to ask Li Morcho. Sister, since you have entered the sect again, you can choose any of the sect's techniques. You have only practiced the basic techniques of the ancient tomb sect before. Is there any martial arts you want to learn? Xuanzhen swordsmanship can be combined with Jade Girl swordsmanship, I have to learn it. For the others, I'll just have the I Ching Bone Strengthening chapter and Jade Girl Heart Sutra. Someone has to inherit master's unique skills. To Di Fan's surprise, Li Morcho, after knowing the consequences of the Heart Sutra, still chose the Jade Girl Heart Sutra. Junior sister, did I not explain it clearly just now? The Heart Sutra has a great influence on one's character. Moreover, when practicing, one also needs to practice with others. Li Morcho smiled and lifted her hair. Of course I know, master said that I have always been unstable. After experiencing Lu Zhanyuan's incident, I no longer have any thoughts about men and women. Someone has to inherit master's unique skills, so let me be the one to inherit. As for the disadvantages of practicing, senior brother, don't you have a male disciple? The corner of Di Fan's mouth twitched. Li Morcho actually wanted to cultivate on Yanghua? Wait, Li Morcho and Yanghua practiced the Jade Girl Heart Sutra together. What kind of development is this? Aunt Long, will she become Aunt Morcho in the future? Where has the plot of the Condor Heroes gone astray? Di Fan was so shocked that he felt like countless horses were galloping past him. Especially when he thought of the scene of Yanghua and Li Morcho looking at each other affectionately in the future, he almost laughed out loud. Xiaolongnu also accepted Di Fan's thoughts and saw the scene he imagined. Disrespectful to the elderly. Xiaolongnu glared at Di Fan fiercely and felt sad. So, is this how I will fall in love with Yanghua in the future? Evil. Forget it, it's better to marry the eldest senior brother than marry Yanghua. As she was thinking, Xiaolongnu's thoughts wandered. She would glance at Di Fan from time to time, her face slightly red. That is to say, this ancient tomb was dark and only illuminated by an oil lamp, plus Xiaolongnu was sitting in a corner where the light could not reach. Otherwise, with Xiaolongnu's gloomy expression, Li Morcho would have discovered it long ago. Okay, since you are determined to promote the ancient tomb sect's martial arts, there is no way to stop you. By the way, in a few days, my younger sister and I will go down the mountain to look for some lost skills and classics to enrich the ancient tomb sect's inventory. Guar will stay here to help you practice martial arts, and you will be in charge of the ancient tomb sect for the time being. No problem, just leave it to me. With me and Grandma here, there will be no worries in the ancient tomb. Li Morcho nodded and said confidently. Di Fan thought about her record. Yes, even Guo Jing and Huang Rong couldn't do anything to her, plus she had the Ice Soul Silver Needle. Although she was still a little weak against the enemy, she would naturally have no worries about saving her life, so he nodded in approval. After a night, the next day, everything was clear. Di Fan and Xiaolongnu packed their bags and said goodbye to everyone. Master, why did you abandon me? Yanghua wanted to cry but had no tears. Di Fan and Xiaolongnu had never hidden the fact that they wanted to leave the tomb from Yanghua. He had been staying in the ancient tomb for 4 years and had been looking forward to it for a long time. But he didn't expect that his dream of leaving the tomb would be gone. What's there to say? You failed your academic subjects, and your martial arts skills aren't that great. It just so happens that your uncle Mo Cho is here, and has been in the martial arts world for quite some time, so he can teach you how to navigate the martial arts world. When we come back, you've passed your academic subjects, and you've learned martial arts well, so we'll naturally let you go out and make a name for yourself. Di Fan waved his hand and said nonchalantly. Take you out? Oh, isn't it nice for me to travel with my sweet and soft little sister? Why should I take you, a light bulb, with me? Well, even if Junior sister doesn't like me, I will never give you any chance to be alone with Junior sister. Well, everything is for Junior sister. Di Fan was thinking wildly. He thought he had no feelings for Xiaolongnu. But traveling with two people was very different from traveling with his junior sister alone. Xiaolongnu glanced at Di Fan and had no intention of objecting. Ever since she changed her cultivation method, she had gradually regained her girlish nature and had a vague liking for Di Fan, so naturally she would not raise any objections. Master, let's make a deal. When you come back, you will let me go. Yangguo's eyes lit up. Go out of the mountain, go out alone. This temptation is incomparably great. He is a free-spirited person. Compared with being controlled by his master and uncle, this seems more tempting. Nature. Di Fan nodded, promised the future, and then looked at Li Morcho. I'll leave the matter of the ancient tomb to you, junior sister. Brother and sister, rest assured. With Morcho here, the ancient tomb will be safe. Li Morcho nodded heavily, waved her hand, and walked back holding Yangguo's neck. Di Fan and Xiaolongnu looked at each other, turned around and went down the mountain, starting their first journey down the mountain. When the two were halfway down the mountain, they suddenly heard a whistle, and a burly man, using his hands as feet, rushed towards them while standing upside down and shouting. I saw a strong man with a high nose, deep eyes, a brown face and beard, and a dirty body. It seemed that he had not washed for a long time. His eyes were crazy and sharp, and his words were incoherent and his voice was like the sound of metal. Where are you, my child? My child, Tilda. As soon as he finished speaking, the sturdy man came in front of the two men. He rolled over and stared at the two men with his eyes as sharp as torches. "Hey, where's my kid? Have you seen him?" As he spoke, his dirty big hand reached out to grab Di Fan. Di Fan subconsciously used the kung fu of the ancient tomb school to dodge, but the opponent was extremely fast and instantly grabbed Di Fan's arm with a twist. The force was so great that he couldn't bear it, and he subconsciously groaned. Hearing Di Fan's groan of pain, Xiaolongnu's face changed, and her hand flew out quickly, trying to snatch Di Fan away from the monster. The weirdo had sharp senses and noticed how fast Xiaolongnu was. He grabbed Di Fan's right hand and let it go instantly, then turned his palm and struck. The big hand and the small hand collided in an instant, and under the collision of internal force, the two of them flew backwards together, and they retreated 7 or 8 steps before they could stand firm. Xiaolongnu's face changed. According to what the senior brother said, with her acquired cultivation, wasn't she already a top expert in the world? How come she hadn't even come down the mountain yet and the first person she met was almost as good as her? Di Fan was also staring at the other person intently. He really didn't know this person, but why did this skill and these words always feel familiar to him? Who is this weird guy? There is actually someone who can repel the little junior sister. You know, the little junior sister has already reached the peak of acquired cultivation. The 5 supremes are no more than this. Wait. 5 wonders. Zhongnan Mountain, Madman. You are Ouyang Feng, the Western Poison. Chapter 17, Defeat the Western Poison, Xiaolongnu's first fight against the 5 great masters. Ouyang Feng. Xiaolongnu's eyes suddenly became sharp. From the teachings of her master Lin Qiaoying and the thoughts of her eldest senior brother, she already knew that among the top masters in the world, the 5 great masters were one of them. And this Western Poison is the strongest one among them. Ouyang Feng? Who is Ouyang Feng? Why does he sound so familiar? Boy, tell me quickly. Di Fan's words seemed to awaken some of Ouyang Feng's memories. Under the severe pain, Ouyang Feng directly jumped up and reached out to grab Di Fan again. Moreover, the moves Ouyang Feng used this time were not like the ones he had just used. When he threw out his palm, there was a strong and fierce wind, and it was obvious that he was using his true strength. Xiaolongnu's pupils shrank. With her knowledge, she knew that with the senior brother's current strength, he would not be able to withstand this attack. Brother, stand back and let me do it. As she spoke, the junior sister stepped forward with Qinggong to meet him. The palms collided, and this time both of them used their inner strength in advance, using their true strength. There was a loud bang, and both sides retreated. Even Di Fan was knocked back several steps by the impact and hit a big tree next to him. Xiaolongnu took a look and saw that her senior brother was fine, and Ouyang Feng was eager to try, so she simply let go of her hands and feet, and pounced on him. Her body was as graceful as a dragon and dancing like a butterfly. The palms of her hands turned into palm prints that covered Ouyang Feng's body. Ouyang Feng laughed loudly and shouted, "Well done." He also met with his palms, using the method of using force to overcome cleverness, and with strong opening and closing, he did not lose the upper hand at all. For a while, the two of them were evenly matched, each with his own strengths and weaknesses, and they were having a lot of fun. Di Fan watched the two fighting, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly at Ouyang Feng's aptitude. Ouyang Feng is indeed one of the top 5 masters. He was born in White Camel Mountain and studied all his martial arts by himself. He is also able to reach the top of the 5 masters. It is really terrifying. Junior sister is also very strong, she can fight Ouyang Feng on equal terms, plus at her age, it won't be long before she can break through and become an innate master like Wang Chongyan, right? I am a time traveler who is ashamed. I have been in this world for 24 years, but I am still just an acquired master. I can't even break through to the innate level. I am really a disgrace to time travelers. While Di Fan was sighing at the two's martial arts and talents, he was also sighing that his own cheat code was not strong enough. He didn't even have a novice gift pack, and he was still a small innate. Xiaolongnu had no intention to listen to her senior brother's random thoughts. Now her mind was all on the battle with Ouyang Feng. Especially, when Ouyang Feng found that he couldn't touch the corner of Xiaolongnu's clothes at all, his internal force became stronger and stronger, and one palm was heavier than the other. The palm force was like a raging wave hitting the shore, and it was endless. Xiaolongnu had to slow down and gradually fell into Ouyang Feng's trap. Di Fan looked worried, because he knew better than anyone how powerful Ouyang Feng was. If the fight continued, his junior sister would be defeated by the opponent, and then they would be in a truly desperate situation. Damn. No wonder some people on the forum said that Ouyang Feng, who practiced the 9 Yin manual in reverse, had truly reached the pinnacle of martial arts in life. His strength is so strong. No, I have to find a way to help my junior sister. Otherwise, with Ouyang Feng's abundant combat experience, even if he is crazy, he can definitely defeat my junior sister based on instinct alone. What should I do? I can't do it with my strength. Di Fan was so anxious that he jumped up and down. Just when Ouyang Feng once again forced Xiaolongnu to fight with him, causing a trace of blood to appear at the corner of Xiaolongnu's mouth. Di Fan suddenly thought of the method that Wang Rong used to deal with Ouyang Feng. Yes, recite the 9 Yin manual. The way of heaven is to reduce the excess and replenish the deficiency. Therefore, the void overcomes the full, and the deficiency overcomes the excess. Its meaning is broad, its principle is profound, and its interest is deep. The images of heaven and earth are divided, the signs of yin and yang are listed, the causes of change are shown, and the signs of life and death are explained. The weak overcomes the strong, the soft overcomes the hard. Everyone in the world knows this, but no one can do it. The softest thing in the world can overcome the hardest thing in the world. Exerting power from the 5 fingers, nothing can break through, destroying the enemy's head like cutting through rotten soil. Di Fan recited the general outline directly. His extremely profound martial arts principles made Ouyang Feng, who had only heard of the 9 Yin manual, stop his actions. You are talking nonsense. Yin and yin are the way of heaven, to take away what is insufficient and to give to what is in excess. The strong overcomes the weak, the hard overcomes the soft. What nonsense are you talking about? Ouyang Feng roared, forgetting to block Xiaolongnu's palm, and only wanted to prove that he was right. In a life and death fight, Xiaolongnu naturally showed no mercy and slapped Ouyang Feng heavily on the heart. It was because of years of life and death battles that Ouyang Feng's sense of battle was extremely sensitive. He subconsciously twisted his body and put his shoulder into Xiaolongnu's palm, so that the palm did not hit the heart, and he was knocked dozens of meters away. However, as both were acquired top-notch masters, the internal force contained in this palm was enough to cause both external and internal injuries to Ouyang Feng, who was at the same level. He immediately spurted out a large amount of blood, glared at the two of them fiercely, and quickly jumped away from the scene. Xiaolongnu did not catch up either. After all, she lacked combat experience. She was able to defeat Ouyang Feng thanks to the help of Di Fan. So how could she possibly chase him again? If I get killed in return, I will probably be laughed to death by the senior brother. Huh, I finally beat Ouyang Feng back. I wonder how junior sister is doing. Di Fan breathed a sigh of relief. It was indeed too much pressure from Ouyang Feng. Whether it was his reputation or his martial arts, it made him feel uneasy. He walked quickly to Xiaolongnu and said, "Little junior sister, are you okay?" "Nothing, just drink some jade bee syrup and take a breath for a while." Xiaolongnu nodded to Di Fan, took out the jade bee syrup from her arms, drank it, and sat down cross-legged. Di Fan quickly jumped onto the branch to help guard. After a while, Xiaolongnu completely recovered and stood up and said, "Brother, it's okay. Let's continue down the mountain." Is it really okay? How about we go back to the Tomb Raiders sect today? We can go down the mountain after we are healed. Blood is flowing from the corner of her mouth. Could it be that junior sister is just forcing herself to hold on? Feeling that Di Fan's words were full of concern, Xiaolongnu smiled and stunned Di Fan. "It's okay, don't worry, big brother. Besides, if we turn around now, do you believe that the kid will say that we are back to the mountain and make a fuss to leave? How dare he? I'm the master." Di Fan patted his chest and replied loudly, but his eyes were staring at the flower-like smile of the little junior sister uncomfortably, sinking into the charming dimples, unable to extricate himself. Yes, those dimples that were everywhere when we were little have finally reappeared in the world today. Junior sister, you are so beautiful. Chapter 18, Senior Brother, I want to be the Empress. Dead look. Xiaolongnu groaned inwardly and stamped her feet, unconsciously revealing the cute and naive look of a little girl. "Brother, are you still going to leave?" Let's go now." Di Fan was so fascinated by Xiaolongnu that he agreed immediately. The two of them ran down the mountain quickly, found the town as soon as possible, bought 2 horses, and headed straight for Tianshan Mountain. However, this journey was really different from what Di Fan had imagined. Originally, Di Fan imagined a happy life in the martial arts world, where he would be accompanied by his junior sister and beautiful women, doing justice and fighting for justice. As a pure Chinese, who doesn't he have a martial arts heart? However, when he was actually walking on the road, he found that he thought of himself as too strong. More than 20 years of education in the previous life had left a shining red heart deeply engraved in Di Fan's heart. However, he originally thought that the Song dynasty was at least the richest dynasty in Chinese history, and the people should have lived a pretty good life. But what appeared before him was the central plains of China, where people were worse than dogs and even worse than in troubled times. Rich song, but that little bit of wealth was not in the common people at all. The rich were scholars, officials, and businessmen. The common people lived at the bottom, even worse than the bottom. Passing through towns, except for a few wealthy families and a slightly larger number of poor peasants, the rest were all poor people. Moreover, they had no fields or land and could only rent land from landlords. They got up early and went to bed late every day, but could not even get enough food to eat, and if they got a serious illness, they would have to sell their children. That day, Di Fan couldn't help but shed tears. Not to mention that after leaving the country, there were haymaking fields everywhere, and countless Mongolian soldiers. The Jin dynasty had been destroyed carrying Song women, dragging babies and women with laughter. This scene made Di Fan's eyes burst with anger. Every time he encountered such a scene, he would personally take action and slaughter the Mongolian soldiers. Xiaolongnu heard less and less about the elder brother's thoughts, and more often she saw Di Fan's expression that was worse than death. Just as they were about to reach Chenshan Mountain, the two found a place to rest. Looking at the bright night sky, Di Fan began to think seriously about his mission for the first time. My mission is to help the poor people in the world. But if I watch the Song dynasty being overthrown by Mongolia, will the people be able to live a good life? Two-legged sheep, wanton killing, even eating babies, using baby skulls as wine vessels. What can the current Mongolian soldiers do that is worthy of their hopes? Or, I support the Song dynasty and personally assist a virtuous emperor. But there is another problem. The current official system, culture, and customs of the Song dynasty cannot be changed. Even the current wise officials, celebrities, and patriotic generals will never be able to understand my thoughts. It is even more impossible to go against their class. I guess after all this time, they will eventually mess it up themselves, right? What a crappy mission. I want to be able to go to the next world in my lifetime. Xiaolongnu listened quietly to the eldest brother's thoughts and could roughly understand some of them. With the experience of eavesdropping in previous years, she could also guess the general meaning of some nouns. So, the eldest brother thinks that overthrowing the Song dynasty will not allow the people to live a good life? If the task is not completed, the eldest brother will not be able to return to the Fairyland and can only stay here with me. Feeling Di Fan's heartfelt pain, and more importantly, his sympathy for the poor, Xiaolongnu had the thought that the senior brother was worthy of being a compassionate immortal. For the first time, she also had the urge to help the senior brother change the world. Big brother. This was the first time that Xiaolongnu took the initiative to greet her senior brother after stepping out of the territory of the Song dynasty. Mainly because she saw the Mongolian soldiers attacking the Grass Valley and so on, and the senior brother was always full of murderous intent, which made her really afraid to provoke him. When an honest person gets angry, he can be much more terrifying than ordinary people. Di Fan lay on the grass and turned his head. Although he was holding a piece of grass in his mouth and looked nonchalant, he did not look like a gangster or decadent at all. Instead, he looked more like a sword drawn from its sheath, sharp and ready to kill at any time. I want to change the world. Xiaolongnu said weakly. I want to change it, too, Di Fan sighed. In this world, human life is less valuable than a dog's. If it can be changed, I want to change it more than you do. Not for going back, but for the ancestors of China, for the people living at the bottom of society. Unfortunately, it's very difficult and basically impossible to change. Di Fan seemed to be talking to Xiaolongnu, but also seemed to be talking to himself. How can the imprisonment of thought be achieved without full trust and reform from top to bottom? What if I become the empress? For some reason, Xiaolongnu suddenly thought of her master Lin Yueru's idol. The eternal empress, who suppressed the eternal sky with her female body, and was feared by all the four seas and 8 wildernesses, the only empress in China, the empress of the Tang dynasty who was established by all nations as the great Jew. All nations praise the virtue of the heavenly hub, Wuziqian. What? You're going to be the Empress. Di Fan was stunned for a moment, his mind went blank, and he looked at Xiaolongnu stupidly. Yes, I will be the Empress. Before she said it out loud, Xiaolongnu was still a little scared. But after she really said it out loud, Xiaolongnu found that it was not a big deal. Her master was the most extraordinary woman in the martial arts world. She led the army to fight against the Jin dynasty, and her martial arts were comparable to Lin Qiaoying, the best in the world. She was raised by her since she was a child and did not have much concept of monarchy and subjectivity. In her heart, a good emperor is one who can make the people live a good life. Since the current emperor is not good enough, and the future dynasty mentioned by the eldest brother is not good enough, then why can't she sit on the throne of the emperor and become a female emperor with the assistance of the eldest brother? Her senior brother is an immortal who has descended to earth. You are the Empress, you are the Empress. Di Fan suddenly turned over, thinking frantically about this possibility in his mind. Yes, I always thought about following the trajectory of history, but why have I never thought about training an emperor myself? But if we train them ourselves, Mongolia is not a good option, as the people there are too affected by the environment and cannot treat the people well. The emperor of the Sung dynasty is not a good option, as under the ancestral teachings, with the alliance of the civil officials, they will definitely repeat the same mistakes and value civil officials over military officials. Thinking more deeply, the reforms I want to make are not acceptable to ordinary people at all. It's like a woman becoming an emperor. Combining all the reasons, it seems that the little dragon girl who I raised since she was a child is the most suitable one. Di Fan looked towards Xiaolongnu. 1. Xiaolongnu is kind-hearted by nature, and since she was raised by me, she will definitely fully support his reforms. 2. She is a martial artist. Once she starts an uprising, she will be able to get help from all the major martial arts sects. The key is that these sects do not have deep-rooted impressions of male superiority and female inferiority, so they are easier to reform and control. 3. With my full support, in 2 years at most, Xiaolongnu will be able to break through to the innate realm and become the only innate master in the world. After thinking about countless reasons, Di Fan actually felt for the first time that Xiaolongnu's proposal was quite feasible. Of course, the more crucial thing is that Di Fan's soul himself comes from the future, and he would not think that it is a rebellious idea for Xiaolongnu to become an empress. Chapter 19, Seeking Merit in Vulture Peak. Di Fan did not answer the junior sister's question until the next day. Xiaolongnu did not ask any further questions. In fact, she had probably already gotten the answer from Di Fan's inner thoughts last night. As for the rest, the eldest senior brother just needed to figure it out himself. The two men mounted their horses and continued to gallop towards Qianshan Mountain. After arriving near Lingzhou Mountain, which was the mountain range in Di Fan's memory, Di Fan took the initiative to release their horses, indicating that their next task was to search for the existence of Lingzhou Palace in this mountain range. I hope that the disappearance of Vulture Peak is not due to the movement of the Earth's crust. How can you, Shuzhu, who is not a real monk and has a wife and children, bring disaster to the most powerful sect? You should know that in this world, besides Huang Shang who created the Nine Yin Manual, Bodhid Hammer who created Shaolin martial arts, the future Zhang Sanfeng, and the invincible sword demon Dugu Qiubai, your Xiaoyao sect is the most powerful. Not to mention that the Qianshan child girl also left you the 9 heavens and 10 divisions, a foundation as big as the Lingzhou Palace. You still lost all of this, you are really a prodigal son. While Di Fan was complaining, he and Xiaolongnu were looking for traces of Lingzhou Palace. Xiaolongnu was bored and simply asked Di Fan, "Big brother, what kind of martial arts are you looking for? What are the origins of these martial arts? Can you tell me?" Junior sister, are you interested too? Di Fan looked at Xiaolongnu curiously. TSK, I didn't expect that. Xiaolongnu, you are also a gossiper. Sure enough, the lifelong pursuit of women is not only beauty but also gossip. Mr. Luzon is right. Yes, I don't know how long it will take to find it. Why don't you talk to me, senior brother? Xiaolongnu was too lazy to refute. She was curious, but it was not a big deal. Moreover, since she has decided to help her senior brother complete the mission and also wants to become a female emperor, Xiaolongnu naturally wants to know about the famous figures and events in modern history so that she can learn more secrets and complete the unification mission more easily, right? After all, her eldest senior brother had taught her, a man can use copper as a mirror to adjust his clothes and appearance, he can use history as a mirror to understand the rise and fall of things, he can use people as a mirror to understand gains and losses. Xiaoyao sect, the unique sect in the heart of the eldest senior brother, is the key point she wants to understand. Okay, junior sister, since you want to know, I'll tell you. There was nothing wrong with Di Fan, so he just enthusiastically told the story of Qianlong Barbu. That day should be during the northern Song dynasty. There is a place in Dali called Wuliang Mountain. A magnificent historical scene slowly unfolds before Xiaolongnu. In the next month, she learned that the Beggars sect was even more powerful than it was now, and that there was a true peerless hero named Xiaofeng. She also learned that the Shaolin Temple was far more powerful than she had imagined, and that even now, she didn't know how many masters were lurking. Knowing that Lingzhou Palace originally possessed 3 innate masters, each of whom was a top master comparable to Wang Chongyang, it was no wonder that the eldest senior brother spoke so highly of Lingzhou Palace. But it was precisely because of this that an organization that had the 9 heavens and 10 divisions, as well as the 72 cave masters, which formed a powerful force in the martial arts world and could even control 1 or 2 court officials, was defeated by Xu Zhu. Xiaolongnu had to admire Xu Zhu's ability to squander money. I think, if the child fairy of Qianshan had known that Xu Zhu was such a spendthrift and would destroy all the empire she had built, she would have definitely not given the throne to Xu Zhu even if it meant passing it on to the four servants, Mai, Orchid, Bamboo and Chrysanthemum, right? Alas, what a pity for Lingzhou Mountain. Arriving at a main peak, Xiaolongnu looked up at the top of the mountain and sighed, with Xu Zhu's status, if the martial arts inventory of Lingzhou Mountain could be passed down to the present, maybe we could even recover a major force and use it for our own benefit. Forehead. Di Fan didn't know how to answer. Ever since that night a month ago, Xiaolongnu had become less and less willing to hide her ambitions, and was acting unscrupulously in front of him. Junior sister, do you really want to be the empress? But, I really don't want to train a female emperor. Thinking back to the novels in my previous life, my empress master, my empress wife, my empress, etc. Others couldn't even hide, but I was forcibly training myself to have an empress junior sister. Did I take the wrong medicine? But, junior sister finally had such a wish. In ancient times, the status of women was so strict. Could I really watch junior sister marry someone else, become a wife and have children, and end up living a mediocre life, or live a painful life like the original history? Compared to that, maybe being an empress is also pretty good. Di Fan's mind was filled with wild thoughts because of Xiaolongnu's words. Xiaolongnu listened to the eldest brother's words and was very satisfied in her heart. Regardless of other meanings, or novel scripts, at least Di Fan was really thinking about her words, instead of treating them as childish nonsense. Being able to do this is extremely rare in this era. When she thought of this, especially the fact that the eldest senior brother taught her in the same way as she was a girl, which was something that even her master Lin Qiaoying could not do, Xiaolongnu became more and more satisfied with the senior brother who raised her. He also spoke much more gently. Big brother, it's getting late. We should go up the mountain. Oh, yes, up the mountain. Di Fan looked at the top of the mountain in front of him, nodded heavily, and put his hand on Xiaolongnu's arm to indicate that he was ready. Afterwards, the two of them stepped on the cloud and misstepped the ancient tomb schools like kung fu, stepping on the treetops, leaves, and fallen snow on the trees. In less than half an hour, they stood at the top of the mountain. Then, both of them realized something was wrong. First, the mountain was really too high, half of it was above the clouds. Second, there was an iron chain on the cliff where they were connected to the opposite cliff, and this scene was very similar to what Di Fan and Xiaolongnu had said, the only passage up the mountain to Lingzhou Palace. Is the Lingzhou Palace across the street? Di Fan stroked his beard. Is the world of Jin Yong's novels really all connected? That should be right. Xiaolongnu ignored and temporarily blocked out Di Fan's random thoughts. She walked to the iron chain and stepped hard. The iron chain was shaking violently, but there was no sign of collapse. It looked very strong. The iron chain is still usable, big brother, let's go together. After saying that, Xiaolongnu held onto Di Fan again, and the two of them stepped onto the iron chain together. With the little leverage from their feet, they flew like butterflies and easily floated towards the other side. Chapter 20, Break through the innate and become a real person. Stepping onto the opposite cliff, the two looked forward together. On a plaque above a huge cave in front of them, the 3 big characters of Lingzhou Palace stood on it, showing their heroic spirit. Let's go. Di Fan took a deep breath and invited Xiaolongnu to step into this holy land of martial arts together. After entering, I didn't meet anyone along the way. There were only the names of the 9 heavens and 10 divisions, such as Shenqian, Yangqian, and Yuqian, written above the densely packed caves, but there was no one and nothing among them. Xiaolongnu couldn't help but frowned. Big brother, this is Lingzhou Palace, it should be correct. But, are you really sure that Shuzhu or his descendants didn't move the palace away? This shouldn't happen. Fan shook his head. In later generations, except for Du and Yu who had descendants, neither Qiaofeng nor Shuzhu had any descendants roaming around in the martial arts world, so they should not have any descendants. Impossible, I have never heard that Shuzhu has a child. Wait, Shuzhu is kind-hearted by nature, he wouldn't dismiss all the 9 heavens and 10 divisions and then distribute all the money and property, right? With Shuzhu's personality, it's really hard to say. Moreover, his brother is Duan Yu, the Prince of Dali. Fan rubbed his nose and a huge guess came to his mind. Xiaolongnu gave Fan a strange look. It shouldn't be possible, right? Keep searching. Fan and Xiaolongnu continued to search further. After walking for a long time, they arrived at the main cave. Unlike other places, although Lingzhou Palace was built on the top of Lingzhou Mountain, it was in the belly of the mountain and was not as cold as imagined. But as soon as you approached this main cave, you would feel icy cold, as if there was something cold frozen in the cave. Walking into the cave, I saw a cold jade bed that was nearly 3 times larger than the one in the tomb of the ancients. It was placed in the middle. On it, 2 elderly people, a man and a woman, lay. In the extremely cold temperature, they maintained a lifelike appearance. Even though he has white hair, he still maintains a childlike face. At first glance, he is a combination of a peerless beauty and a simple and ugly little monk. Well, to put it more simply, they are Shuzhu and Meng Jiyu. Oh, Shuzhu, so ugly. If I had participated in the election for Shishia's imperial consort during the time of demigods and semi-devils, I think Shuzhu would have had no chance, right? This appearance is really too ugly. Xiaolongnu was still searching for letters, martial arts secrets, or something like that when she heard Fan's voice. Unconsciously, she looked towards the bed. Then, even with Xiaolongnu's state of mind, she couldn't help but look away. It's really ugly. Jin Yong's book, Demigods and Semi-Devils, says, he has an ugly appearance, thick eyebrows, big eyes, upturned nostrils, protruding ears, very thick lips, and is not good at speaking. To put it simply, he is almost no different from Zhu Barji. From this we can see that being able to marry Mengu is really a result of the halo of the protagonist, plus the help of ancient doctrines on women. After just a glance, the brothers and sisters withdrew their gaze, and checked the surroundings. As expected of Shaolin disciples, it was indeed a letter, without any memoirs left. Instead, it was Xiaolongnu who found the record that Mengu had casually written down. From the lines of Mengu's essay, we can fully discover her life after marrying Shuzhu. TSK, this Shuzhu is indeed a brainwashed Shaolin disciple. It is a waste of talent for a girl as charming as Mengu to marry you. No matter how straight a man is, he is not as unromantic as you. She even spent all her family wealth and drove away her slaves. TSK, have you ever thought about whether Meng Jiyu, who was born as a princess of Shixia, could live with you through hard times? Do you really think she is our Zhu, who grew up in hardship? Oh, wait, Shuzhu, isn't he also using this method to remember his elder brother Qiaofeng? Fan rubbed his temples speechlessly. From Mengu's words, he began to have great doubts about the heroes who were beautified in the books. Even now, looking back, it seems that in the so-called book, Demigods and Semi-Devils, where everyone suffers, those heroes don't seem to be a big deal. Well, except Qiaofeng. Shuzhu is a straight man, or an extremely chauvinistic man, very kind but also hypocritical, only paying attention to outsiders but ignoring his own family. Duan Yu is a scumbag, falling in love with every woman he meets, without even having to think of words to criticize. Forget it. Why think so much? The dead are gone. How much does it have to do with me? Instead of thinking about it, why not look around and see if you can find the 3 supreme books? Xiaolongnu also regained her composure and followed Fan in searching. Finally, after a period of hard work, they finally found the martial arts cave, which contained various martial arts of the Xiaoyao sect, as well as miscellaneous studies and principles. Well, in order to leave behind a legacy, Shuzhu even carved the beggar gang's 18 dragon subduing palms, 3 of which have been lost, and the Dali Duanche's lost 6 meridians divine sword on the wall. It can be said to be the culmination of Jin Yong's martial arts. Junior sister, let's learn all these martial arts first. Good. Xiaolongnu nodded, her eyes fixed on the wall. So, for the next year or so, the two of them threw themselves wholeheartedly into these supreme martial arts, unable to extricate themselves. At the same time, Di Fan and Xiaolongnu's kung fu had undergone tremendous changes. First, Di Fan, who specialized in the 8 desolations and 6 directions, the only I am supreme technique. Although his aptitude was poor, his comprehension and soul strength were extremely high. I think it was also the blessing of having been a human for 2 lifetimes. And the main purpose of this technique was to retrain the body. In just over a year, Di Fan improved his aptitude a lot, and his cultivation reached the peak of the 5 ultimates of the acquired realm, but he also stopped there, with no possibility of further progress. Of course, Di Fan had learned the light footsteps and 1 finger of sun, which did not require much internal energy, to the fullest. But he could only sigh in despair when it came to powerful martial arts such as the 18 dragon subduing palms, the 6 meridians divine sword, the Qianshan 6 yarn palms, and the white rainbow palm. Another person who was practicing, Xiaolongnu, broke through the innate state and achieved the realm of a true person. Chapter 21, Yarngua, in Love. Yes, the internal energy that Xiaolongnu practiced was the Xiao Wu Xianggong. In the beginning, her only task was to transform the true energy in her body into the true energy of Xiao Wu Xianggong. Whether it is the 9 yin manual or the small Wu Xianggong, they are all Taoist exercises, and they are both top-notch martial arts with very low loss. However, the general outline of the 9 yin manual is mostly auxiliary, not a real practice method, so only the small Wuxian Gong that can break through the innate is learned. So, after transferring her true energy, Xiaolongnu relied on the larger cold jade bed to make rapid progress in her internal strength. In a year, she used her internal strength to break through the Baihui acupoint, connecting the 2 bridges of heaven and earth, penetrating the Ren and Du meridians, and completely integrating her body into heaven and earth, breaking through to the innate realm. After breaking through to the innate realm, Xiaolongnu's every move, every hand and every foot can use her internal force to influence the surrounding environment. Although the overall storage of internal force is still low, she is no longer short of internal force, and will not fall into the dilemma of running out of internal force. Naturally, he also learned the remaining martial arts such as the 18 dragon subduing palms and 6 meridians divine sword to the fullest. Junior sister, the skills have basically been copied, it's time to return to the mountain. After Xiaolongnu had completely mastered the last move of the 18 dragon subduing palms and the dragon swung its tail, Defan took the initiative to speak. I've lived in this broken mountain for a year and a half. This is finally Yin by Mengu's suffering. This broken place, there are very few animals on weekdays, and I can only eat cabbage, rice, and tofu every day. Isn't it unbearable? I stayed there for only a year and a half, and I couldn't wait to get down the mountain. If I stayed there for a lifetime like her. No wonder Mengu died of depression. I guess her biggest wish before she died was to eat a bite of the most delicious roasted whole lamb on the grassland, right? Slurp. Speaking of which, I also want to eat roasted whole lamb, steamed bear paws, steamed deer tails, roasted duck, roasted chicken, roasted goose, braised salted duck, sauced chicken, bacon, pine flowers, tripe, dried meat, sausages, assorted stew dishes. The names of the dishes came out one after another from Di Fan's mouth. Anyway, he thought to himself that he didn't need to worry about getting stuck, so he had to recall them carefully, right? Xiaolongnu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Didn't she just stay a little longer to get familiar with the several sets of skills she would use in the future? Did the eldest senior brother just couldn't wait? However, even though he said that, every dish name was accompanied by the corresponding picture that Di Fan recalled in his mind. Xiaolongnu, who could only eat cabbage, tofu, and rice every day, couldn't help but start to drool. Wow, I want to eat it too. Let's go, big brother. With an urgent mood, Xiaolongnu couldn't wait to put on her backpack that had been packed long ago, and ran down the mountain with her senior brother. Along the way, Di Fan was still a little uncomfortable. Junior sister, why are you more anxious than me? It wasn't until the two of them ran to the town at the foot of the mountain and ordered a bunch of meat dishes that Di Fan finally realized. It turns out that I am not the only one who is greedy. My junior sister is also greedy. Xiaolongnu rolled her eyes at Di Fan in annoyance and said, "Eat quickly. We don't have much time to waste. We have to hurry back to the ancient tomb. P.S. I have to explain here that Xiaolongnu is someone who has really tasted good food. Jade bee jelly, cold pond silverfish, which one is not a top-grade food? Moreover, Lin Chaoying and Wang Chongyang were able to build a huge underground warehouse like an ancient tomb in ancient times, and filled it with supplies. You don't really think that the Tomb clan is poor, do you? Not to mention, Wang Chongyang broke up with Lin Chaoying and left the house with nothing. Oh, good, good. Fan reacted, quickly took a few mouthfuls of rice, and put a braised lion's head into his mouth. Wow, it smells so good. It feels so good to be able to eat meat. Xiaolongnu secretly rolled her eyes, but her movements, as well as the direction of the chopsticks, were mostly towards the meat. As a martial artist, before reaching the Xiantian realm, if you don't eat meat, your body won't have that much energy to convert into internal strength. This is why Shaolin monks cannot eat meat, but martial monks don't have too many restrictions. After they finished their meal, they followed the old rules and found a group of Mongolian soldiers, stole their mounts, and headed for the ancient tomb. Well, the ancient tomb is no longer within the territory of the Song dynasty, so they can be even more unscrupulous. It only took the two of them one day to return to Mount Zhongnan and meet Li Morcho and others. After taking out her martial arts, Li Morcho gave up the choice of internal strength and only practiced the Lingbo Weibu, Yang Finger, and other skills. Hong Lingbo, on the other hand, was beyond everyone's expectations and chose to abandon his own cultivation and practice Beiming divine art. As for Yarngua, to Fan's surprise, he also chose the combination of Jade Girl Heart Sutra and 9 Yin scriptures outline. Moreover, when Xiaolongnu and I looked at him, he subconsciously avoided their gazes, as if he had made some mistake. This kid Yarngua must be hiding something from us. Fan frowned and looked at Yarngua, but he did not ask, let alone speak. No, he looks a lot like the young people in his previous life who were discovered by their parents to be in love. So, he is in love with Hong Lingbo. Subconsciously, Fan kept looking at Hong Lingbo and Yarngua, but he didn't notice any interaction between the two people's eyes. Not Hong Lingbo. Could it be Lu Wushuang? Fan subconsciously guessed that there was another person. That person was also Li Morcho's disciple, so he asked directly, second junior sister, has your other disciple Lu Wushuang ever come to the mountain? How could I let her go up the mountain? Li Morcho's face was full of disdain. She is Lu Zhanyuan's niece. Even though she has been respectful to me and behaved well over the years, how could I accept her into my sect? Oh, by the way, a few days ago I asked Lingnan to go down the mountain to help me bring up the gifts, but I found that she had already taken the opportunity to escape, and took away the 5 poisons sutra I compiled. However, I don't care about that secret book now, so I let her take it away, just as compensation for my harsh criticism of her over the years. Li Morcho shrugged. What Fan could understand was that Li Morcho at this moment really didn't care about Lu Wushuang at all. Moreover, according to Li Morcho's narration, Lu Wushuang would never come up to meet Yarngua. But if Lu Wushuang is not in love with Yarngua, then who is it with? On this mountain, apart from the most likely candidates Hong Lingbo and Lu Wushuang, the remaining women are only Granny Sun and second junior sister. Granny Sun is already over 60 years old, there is no way it could be. Could it be the second junior sister? Fan, together with Xiaolongnu who overheard Fan's inner thoughts, instantly cast their eyes towards Li Morcho. Speaking of which, the second senior sister's elder sister looks like she is also 28 years old, which means she is only about 8 years older than Guo. Add to that the advantage of women looking younger, and the special effect of the Jade Girl Heart Sutra in maintaining the body, the stunning Li Morcho, standing next to Yarngua, is really a perfect match just from the appearance. Chapter 22, Heading to the Heroes Conference. By the way, judging from their appearance alone, you really can't tell that second junior sister is 8 years older than Guo. According to the original history, Yarngua would have a sister-brother relationship. It is definitely impossible for the younger sister to be in a relationship. So, the one who will replace the younger sister will be the second sister. Guo, can't you just change your sect? For example, your uncle Guo's daughter Guofu and your future youngest daughter Guoxiang are both very good marriage candidates. Fan complained in his heart about Yarngua's betrayal of his sister-brother relationship and his repeated targeting of the Toon clan. The junior sister at the side looked at Yarngua on the left and Li Morcho on the right, her face full of gossip, and the word curiosity was almost written on her face. Even that curiosity was discovered by Li Morcho, who was filled with shame and anger and slapped Xiaolongnu. Junior sister, what are you doing? There was a hint of shyness in her words, like a woman in love. Xiaolongnu, whose character had been completely changed, became even more girlish. When she saw Li Morcho's appearance, the gossip factor deeply rooted in her nature was completely activated. Second senior sister, Yuan Guo. Ahem. Di Fan quickly interrupted Xiaolongnu's question. What are you doing, junior sister? Is this the time to ask? I don't know if in the early stages of a relationship, one is most afraid of being teased and interrupted. What if Mo Cho gets embarrassed and angry and doesn't he want to be with Yang Gui anymore? Mo Cho finally opened her heart and found someone who might love her. Well, I don't know if Guo will come to his senses, but I would rather destroy 10 temples than break up a marriage. Junior sister Mo Cho has suffered enough. I hope she can live a peaceful and perfect life in this life. What? Li Morcho didn't hear Xiaolongnu's words clearly and asked again. After receiving Di Fan's reminder, Xiaolongnu changed her topic from gossiping to asking about Yang Guo's homework. I just want to ask how Hong Lingbo and Guo are doing with their homework these days. Li Morcho didn't even think about it and answered directly, Hong Lingbo is just so-so, with average talent. Even if he has many top-level martial arts, he can only reach the level of the 5 supremes at most. Hong Lingbo looked at his master with resentment. 5 supremes, that's already very strong, okay? In the whole world, there are only a few people who can reach the level of 5 supremes, and they can't even reach the number of hands. But Guo is different. He is worthy of being the disciple of the senior brother. His aptitude and understanding are both top-notch. Not only is the technique he taught me comprehensive, but his understanding is also very deep. Even for the Jade Girl Heart Sutra, which I learned for the first time, he was able to master it in a few days and can practice with me. When talking about Yang Guo, Li Morcho's praises were endless. Di Fan watched as Yang Guo turned his head away somewhat embarrassedly, and couldn't help but cover his face with a bitter smile. Okay, it's confirmed, there must be something wrong with these two guys. I really don't know whether it is right or wrong to let them develop as they wish. The Condor Heroes became the Condor Hero and the Scarlet Snake Fairy. I have taken the plot too far. Empress Xiaolongnu couldn't help but complain in his heart, and Xiaolongnu also noticed something was wrong with her peripheral vision. However, in her heart it didn't matter. After all, Lin Chaoying was not a woman who abided by etiquette, so how good could the disciple she taught be? In her opinion, as long as two people love each other, everything else is a small matter. A night passed, and Xiaolongnu listened to her senior sister praising Yang Guo all night. Although her personality had changed, she was not good at speaking, so she didn't know how to refuse. She could only endure it silently until dawn, then she could not wait to rush to Di Fan's room. Big brother. When she rushed in, Di Fan had just finished changing his clothes and was about to get up. Junior sister, you are getting faster and faster. If you come any earlier, I will be exposed. I am a virgin, and I won't give my body to anyone casually. Subconsciously, Xiaolongnu rolled her eyes at Di Fan. Who cares? Di Fan blinked, not understanding why Xiaolongnu rolled her eyes at him, and could only smile and respond, I wonder what the little junior sister is talking about. Big brother, didn't I tell you that I want to be an empress? I want to save the people of the world. Do you have any good ideas? Xiaolongnu said anxiously. Well, ideals are one thing, but the problem is that she wants to leave the ancient tomb sect and doesn't want to live with Li Morcho anymore. If Yang Guo praised her again tonight, she didn't know if she would be unable to bear it and slap second senior sister unconscious. This matter. Di Fan smacked his lips and said, if you want to raise an army and make a name for yourself as the empress, you must first become famous. You must let people know that there is someone like you who fights for the people. Only by attracting countless famous ministers and generals to come here can you have a foundation for raising an army. Famous? Xiaolongnu frowned. She didn't understand what fame meant. Moreover, Empress Xiaolongnu was already talking to himself at this moment, and there was no way for her to eavesdrop on his thoughts. Well, first you have to become famous, but not infamous, and you can't rely on religion, otherwise you'll end up like the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, which was invincible in the early stages, but full of corruption in the middle stages, and powerless in the later stages. This is a martial arts world. Even commoners have heard of the 5 supremes. So, the best way is to gain a reputation as the best martial artist in the world. Di Fan paced back and forth, and his thoughts even turned to how to recruit suitable civil and military officials. Among the famous martial arts masters, there is one who uses the judge's pen. His surname is Zhu, which is not bad. I heard that he is the descendant of Zhu Danchen. Among the 5 great masters, Hong Qigong hates evil and hates evil. He can be a military judge or an official in the procuratorate. As for the East Evil, he is proficient in both civil and military strategies. If we can accept him, he can also take on the position of Prime Minister, which is not bad. Senior brother. Seeing that Di Fan's words were becoming more and more biased, and he was even starting to think about how to form a cabinet, Xiaolongnu couldn't help it and interrupted Di Fan's thoughts directly. Big brother, it's too early to talk about other things now. How are we going to achieve the fame you mentioned? Well, if you want to become famous, it would be best if a big event happened. So what is the latest event? It seems to be the martial arts conference in Xianyang, right? Moreover, there will be a Mongolian national master coming, which is the best place to become famous. The most important thing is that if you defeat King Jinluan, your reputation will definitely be positive. Awesome. Let's go to Xianyang. Participate in the martial arts conference hosted by Guojing. By the way, grab the position of the leader of the martial arts world and make it the first force we raise. Di Fan said this with great certainty. Xiaolongnu thought for a moment. Although she didn't understand Di Fan's operation, she nodded to show her agreement. She and Di Fan immediately went down the mountain and rode straight to Xianyang. Chapter 23, Outside the city of Xianyang, the tomb of Dugu Qiubai. The two were very fast, and Xianyang was a large frontier town of the southern Song dynasty. In just one day, they had already arrived at Xianyang city. After some inquiries, he found out that it was just as he thought. Wu Jing and Huang Rong had already started sending out invitations to heroes, and the Guo mansion had already started to move in. Big brother, should we go in early? Xiaolongnu looked at Di Fan. Di Fan thought for a while and shook his head, saying, no, it would be difficult to do anything if we were to stay under everyone's sight. Why don't we go find something around first? When you come to Xianyang, how can you not look for the tomb of the sword demon Dugu Qiubai and taste the body snake? The snake's gallbladder can improve your internal strength. If you can breed it and use the most basic skills, you will be able to become a martial arts master in the whole army. Xiaolongnu looked around outside Xianyang city in amazement. She had heard from Di Fan in his heart that Dugu Qiubai was a top-notch supermaster, even more powerful than Wang Chongyang, the leader of the 5 great masters, but she didn't expect that there was such a magical creature as the body snake. If they could really be raised like chickens and ducks, Xiaolongnu could imagine how powerful and capable her army would be. Everything is up to senior brother's arrangement. Xiaolongnu nodded and let Di Fan decide the itinerary. So, the two of them searched in the mountains outside Xianyang. After more than half a month, they finally found the strange snake, which was covered with a faint golden light, had fleshy horns on its head, moved as fast as the wind, and was extremely difficult to catch. Brother, is this the body snake you mentioned? Xiaolongnu stretched out her hand and used the dragon catching and crane controlling skills she had learned from Lingzhou Palace. Her internal energy turned into her palm, and with a light suction, she grabbed the body snake that had darted into the bushes, and held it in her hand to look at it attentively. Di Fan came closer. His entire body was purple, with fleshy horns on his head and cat-like eyes. He was definitely not an ordinary snake. No wonder he had the effect of increasing strength and internal energy. That's the snake. Let's go and look around for it. It would be great if we could find a male and a female. We can then breed them in Mount Zhongnan. Xiaolongnu nodded and continued to move forward with Di Fan. Then, the two of them caught 3 more strange snakes, 2 males and 2 females, and put them in a snake basket, preparing to take them back to the ancient tomb for breeding. Just as the two were about to return, they suddenly heard the sound of gravity hitting in the distance. Bang! Bang! A dull sound like leather hitting each other came from a distance. The two looked at each other, jumped onto the treetops together, and headed towards the sound. When they got closer, what they saw was a giant eagle over 3 meters tall fighting with a giant python. The giant python is more than 10 meters long, with a waist that is 2 meters thick. Its shape is just an enlarged version of the body snake. You can tell at first glance that it is the king of body snakes. Look at the giant eagle again. It has an extremely ugly appearance, with sparse feathers all over its body, a crooked beak, and its feathers are yellow and black, which makes it look very dirty. There is a large blood-red tumor on the top of its head, and its legs are extremely thick. Sometimes it stretches out its wings, but they are very short. However, it is also full of majesty. This sculpture is so ugly. The original novel is not lying to me. This eagle has great power and can definitely kill tigers and leopards. But as for flying, it has only a few hairs left, so it definitely can't fly. Senior Dugu, when you raised the eagle, you certainly didn't expect it to be so ugly, right? Big brother, can you help me? Xiaolongnu looked at the divine eagle in surprise. It turned out to be the eagle raised by Dugu Qiubai. Sure enough, no wonder in her eyes, every time the eagle flapped its wings, it gave people a feeling of swordsmanship. That's right, this sword technique seems to be quite different from the sword techniques taught by normal sects. Help the divine eagle to kill the giant snake. The bitter gall of this snake can be used to make wine, which will help Morcho and Guar break through their acquired cultivation. Diifan nodded heavily. Not to mention that he was still coveting Dugu Qiubai's swordsmanship. Just this giant snake, God knew how heavy its gallbladder was, and how much power the Snake King could achieve. Of course he had to take it back. Xiaolongnu looked at Diifan with some regret. It's a pity that the eldest senior brother's heavenly gate is incomplete, and his Ren and Du meridians are half damaged. His highest cultivation level can only reach the peak of the acquired realm, and he has no chance of breaking through to the innate realm. Okay, then I'll do it. Xiaolongnu leaped up, and her body fell backwards around her. A giant dragon appeared and disappeared. Under the guidance of Xiaolongnu's inner strength, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth transformed into a giant dragon that wrapped around her body and pounced towards the battlefield. 18 dragon subduing palms. Flying dragon in the sky. The only aerial attack move of the 18 dragon subduing palms was launched, and the Xiantianjinren's cultivation was fully displayed. P.S. In the martial arts world, the Xiantian realm is a real person. For example, Zhang Sanfeng Jinren, Wang Chongyang Jinren, these Taoist Xiantian masters, are all called real people. On the battlefield, the divine eagle was the first to notice something was wrong. After all, its original owner, Dugu Qiubai, was also an innate master. He subconsciously stomped his feet hard on the ground and flapped his wings. In an instant, he escaped from the range of the flying dragon in the sky, leaving the enemy alone in Xiaolongnu's palm. And then, there was nothing else. The head of the body Snake King was smashed by the dragon's head in an instant. After the snake's body twisted for a while, it died tragically on the spot. Seeing the Snake King die tragically, Diifan fell down from the treetop, took out a dagger, took out the snake gall, put it into a special container he carried with him, and waited until he returned to the store to process it before eating it. After all, snake gallbladder cannot be eaten raw. Especially the gallbladder of exotic snakes like the body snake, who knows what parasites and bacteria are inside it. Will they be more terrifying and more susceptible to infection than ordinary snake gallbladders? Quack! Seeing how the two men were extremely skilled in killing snakes and taking out their gallbladders, the divine eagle became anxious. He flapped his wings and howled loudly. He had been staring at this snake for a long time. Big brother. Oh, give it the rest of the snake body. We can talk about it after he finishes eating it. Diifan waved his hand and said generously. After all, he is Senior Dugu's pet. Even if we don't give face to the divine condor, we have to give face to Senior Dugu. Moreover, Dugu Nine Swords is one of the most highly ranked sword techniques in the universe, not to mention its sword meaning, final showdown, an explanation of the way of the sword. You must not miss it. In the entire universe, the only two people who can compare with Zhang Sanfeng in terms of talent and comprehension are probably Dugu Qiubai and Huang Shang. Oh, by the way, there is also the perennial supporting character Yu Buchuan. Although Xiaolongnu didn't understand what Diifan said, she still understood a little bit of the meaning of the myriad worlds. Just like what the Buddhist said, one flower, one world, one tree, one body, right? Perhaps, it was the immortal world where Senior Brother was, and the countless small worlds under its jurisdiction. However, she did not expect that Dugu Qiubai would be so great in the heart of her senior brother. And what kind of elegance is the Dugu Nine Swords? Chapter 24, Sword Skills Test, Entering the Sword Tomb. After the divine eagle swallowed the snake's body in a few bites and ate the body Snake King like chewing spicy strips, its vigilant eyes finally let down their guard and looked at the two people kindly. Quack! He called out twice, as if asking about their origins. Diifan understood and took the initiative to answer. Brother Jiao, my name is Diifan, and this is my junior sister Xiaolongnu. Hello, Brother Jiao. Since Di Fan was so polite, Xiaolongnu naturally did not lose her manners and took the initiative to perform a martial arts salute. With this kind of polite greeting, the divine eagle's eyes became even kinder. Quack! The divine eagle also flapped its wings, brought them together, and slightly bent its huge body, as if returning the greeting. TSK, this divine condor, has it finally understood human nature? The martial arts world is so awesome. If it were placed in the fairy world, this sculpture would probably become a demon king or a demon saint. Xiaolongnu heard the thoughts of her senior brother, especially the ones about the fairyland, the demon king, and the demon saint. She was even more certain about the origins of her senior brother. Humph, big brother, you really are a god who has come down to earth to transcend tribulation. This time, I came here not only to try to breed the body snake, which is the strange snake that you, brother Jiao, just ate, but more importantly, I want to visit senior Dugu Qiubai to see if I can learn the Dugu 9 swords. Quack! Speaking of Dugu Qiubai, especially the Dugu 9 swords, the divine eagle's eyes suddenly became extremely sharp, and it even shouted twice, then flapped its wings and attacked Di Fan. Xiaolongnu's eyes shone, and she was about to take action. Di Fan's body floated back like willow catkins, blocking Xiaolongnu. Don't do it, brother Jiao is testing me to see if I am qualified to inherit senior Dugu's sword skills. I didn't expect that this experience of fighting was actually a prerequisite for learning swordsmanship. No wonder Guo in history was so badly taught by the divine condor. Don't even mention him. Even I, who have reached the strength of the 5 ultimates, am having a hard time fighting, right? No wonder Guo only learned the heavy sword, and has not learned the light sword, Dugu 9 swords, or even the sword art. It turns out that he really cannot defeat the divine eagle in front of him. Di Fan perked up and started to fight the divine condor seriously. He used one finger zen and light footsteps one after another, and each finger touched the wings of the divine eagle. His body was like flying willow catkins, without any effort, and naturally he was not hit by the divine eagle. After fighting back and forth for a long time, the divine condor suddenly stopped and shook its head at Di Fan. Har har, the divine eagle pointed at the sword at his waist. Har har. Are you asking me to use swordsmanship? But, I can't do that either. Di Fan looked embarrassed. Although he was smart and had a high level of comprehension, he had tried the technique of using both hands a long time ago. That method of drawing a circle with the left hand and a square with the right hand really didn't work. So, he gave up the idea of learning swordsmanship. I can't even use both swords together, so the most basic Chuanjin swordsmanship and Jade Girl swordsmanship are really useless. Xiaolongnu heard Di Fan's dilemma and nodded to her senior brother, 6 Meridian's divine sword. That's also swordsmanship. After learning one finger zen, he would naturally learn 6 Meridian's divine sword, but with his skills, he was not at the innate level and could not have an endless supply of internal energy. At best, he could only learn 100 swords. Of course, the most important thing isn't that the sword energy that escapes from the body. What does it have to do with swordsmanship? Of course it's swordsmanship, and the level is definitely not low. Xiaolongnu was speechless and made the assurance again. Alas, senior brother's knowledge of martial arts is still a little lacking. If 6 Meridian's divine sword really only relies on sword energy, wouldn't it be better to change its name to Qi Sword Finger? Okay, I'll try it. After receiving repeated affirmation from his junior sister, Di Fan finally put aside his worries and stretched out his hands with 10 fingers. Brother Jiao, this set of swordsmanship is extremely powerful, please be careful. Quack! The divine condor nodded, as if to say, come on over. Having received the affirmation, Di Fan naturally stopped holding back. Shushan sword, features, the sword moves with great force, with the momentum of breaking rocks and bringing about a storm. Xianyang sword, characteristics, ingenious, flexible and elusive. Zhongchong sword, characteristics, wide opening and closing, majestic momentum. Guanchong sword, characteristics, it wins by its clumsy and simple style. Xiaochong sword. Features, light and swift. Xiaozi sword, characteristics, coming and going suddenly, with subtle changes. Di Fan tapped with his 10 fingers, and with each tap, a ray of sword energy was released. Some were powerful, like splitting a mountain or splitting a rock. Some were clever, spinning around and attacking the back. Some were light and agile, extremely fast. Some were clumsy, using the heavy force to hit the slow force. The divine eagle nodded repeatedly as it watched, but what surprised Di Fan was that every time the sword energy attacked, it was easily dispelled by a burst of energy from its wings, without causing the divine eagle any harm at all. At the end of the fight, Di Fan injected all 10 fingers into Shushan's sword, the last move, 6 swords into 1. A thick sword energy shot out, which contained all the characteristics of the 6 Meridians' divine sword. This sword finally made the divine eagle reveal a satisfied look. It smashed down with its wings, and a force mobilized the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to crush the sword energy released by Emperor Fan into nothingness. At this moment, Di Fan finally knew that this divine condor had broken through to the innate realm. Hey, it's worthy of being Dugu Qiubai's pet. It really illustrates what it means that humans are inferior to eagles. Quack! The divine eagle flapped its wings, and Di Fan looked helpless. Brother eagle, I really can't fight anymore, how about we try again next time? Quack! The divine eagle came over with dissatisfaction, flapped its wings, carried Di Fan on its shoulders, and strode forward, not giving Di Fan any chance to struggle. Hey, brother Jiao, slow down. My junior sister is here, please give me some face. It's over. I've lost face in front of my junior sister. It's so embarrassing. Tilda. Xiaolongnu covered her mouth and laughed while hearing what was said in her mind. Big brother, you are so funny. After that, they passed the test of the divine condor and were able to visit Dugu Qiubai's tomb. At the same time, they also saw the magical sword burial place. The tombstone reads, I have been in the martial arts world for more than 30 years, killing all enemies and defeating all heroes. There is no one in the world who can stand up to me. I have no choice but to live in seclusion in a deep valley, making eagles my friends. Alas, I have been looking for an opponent in my life but have not been able to find one. How lonely and embarrassing it is. At the sword tomb, 2 rows of boys showed off their sword demon dominance. Sword demon Dugu Qiubai is invincible in the world, so he buried his sword here. Alas! All the heroes are helpless, and their swords are useless. How sad it is. Then, 3 precious swords, which were buried in different places, appeared in front of the 2 men. It is fierce and powerful, indestructible. Before I reached the age of 20, I used it to compete with the heroes of Hershur. The purple myrtle soft sword was used before I was 30 years old. I accidentally injured a righteous man, so I threw it into a deep valley. A heavy sword has no edge, and great skill is not skillful. Before the age of 40, he relied on it to dominate the world. After the age of 40, I was no longer attached to objects. Grass, wood, bamboo, and stone could all be used as swords. From then on, I practiced diligently and gradually reached the state where having no sword was better than having one. The 4 swords represent the 4 realms of swordsmanship. Chapter 25, Introduction to Kendo. Looking at the 4 swords and 4 characters on the sword tomb monument, Di Fan stood there in a daze without realizing it. When seeing the first words, Di Fan seemed to see a young hero, holding a 3-foot-long green sword, and fighting for supremacy, attacking one mountain gate after another, accompanied by wonderful sword skills. Every time the sword is out, it will definitely hit the enemy's must-see place. The heroes are helpless, and they cry out in grief. In the second piece of calligraphy, the hero has grown to be about 30 years old. With a Zue soft sword in one hand, he causes unrest in the martial arts world, punishes the wicked and eliminates evil, and makes a name for himself as Dugu. The third character said, the hero is already 40 years old. His sharpness gradually fades, and he holds a giant sword, lifting heavy objects with ease. Although it is a giant sword technique, in Dugu Qiubai's hands, it is as light as a 3-foot green peak, without the slightest sense of heaviness. The fourth word, the hero is already very old, and his appearance is no different from that of an ordinary old man. However, for the first time, Di Fan felt a real threat from this man. The sharp sword intent pierced his soul, causing him to close his eyes after just one glance. This closure also caused Di Fan to completely lose his understanding of the sword. He was covered in sweat and fatigue, as if he had been fighting for a long time. Big brother, are you okay? The junior sister quickly flew over and supported Di Fan. Di Fan wiped the sweat off his face and said, nothing, I just comprehended the Dugu 9 swords and I am a little overwhelmed. Dugu Qiubai is indeed worthy of being on par with Zhang Sanfeng. This sword technique is truly the best of the Dao. Especially the last wooden sword realm, although it is just a guess, but its last move, Yin Division, is the ultimate guess of the sword in the previous life on the internet. A blade of grass can cut off all things in the world and cut down thousands of stars. Dugu Qiubai is worthy of being called Dugu Qiubai, but it's a pity that he was born in this world of low martial arts. If he had gone to the prehistoric world or journey to the west, he would have been able to be called a saint long ago, right? The most important reason why Diifan kept boasting about Dugu Qiubai in his heart was that he had gained huge benefits from the Forstiles and for calligraphy works. In the first piece of calligraphy, he obtained the Dugu 9 swords, which was said to be not valued by the public. In the second chapter, he obtained the same level of soft swordsmanship, which was more exquisite. But in essence, it was at most a top swordsmanship, not as magical as Dugu 9 swords. In the third piece of writing, he obtained the heavy sword technique, which is also the second level of cultivating sword intent: lift heavy things as if they were light, and lift light things as if they were heavy. The fourth piece of words is not only the so-called wooden sword technique, but also the technique of the unity of man and sword that can be ranked among the best even in the world of Huangyi, Jiulong, and fantasy. This method emphasizes the fusion of man, God and soul to forge the sword. In the later stage, the trend of heaven and earth can be forged together. At that time, every move and every word are swordsmanship, and the trend of heaven and earth are also the sword in his hand. It is not too strange to cut off the sun, moon and stars with a blade of grass. Well, perhaps this is the highest level of understanding of the sword's meaning. That is, everything can be a sword. Listening to Diifan's inner voice, Xiaolongnu was shocked. Is Senior Dugu Qiubai so powerful? The martial arts he created are actually among the best in the fairy world. Then she must learn. Otherwise, when the senior brother returns to the fairyland, how can she keep up with the senior brother? It's just that the requirements set by Dugu Qiubai are too high. I also watched it. Why is it that only the eldest brother can comprehend swordsmanship? Even kendo. Yin, I am not stupider than the eldest brother at all. Xiaolongnu, who had completely walked out of the ancient tomb, would occasionally show her childish behavior in front of Diifan. Big brother, I want to learn too. Xiaolongnu shook Difan's big hand, her face full of desire to learn Dugu 9 swords. Okay, I'll teach you. Diifan scratched his head. It was just a set of sword techniques. He could teach it. It's a pity. If Junior sister can break through the void with martial arts and transcend this world, with this set of skills, it is possible that she can achieve the Deluo realm. What a pity, this world is still too weak after all. Oh, not necessarily. It seems that there is also a Changchun Valley or something. There is a speculation on the internet that Wu Yar's master Xiaozi transcended the world here. However, it depends on whether the future junior sister has this blessing. Diifan sighed silently in his heart that Xiaolongnu and Dujiu Qiubai were born in the wrong world, but Xiaolongnu deeply engraved the name of Changchun Valley in her heart. In the following month, the two stayed with Brother Jiao. On the one hand, they experimented with the breeding of body snakes and found a way to ensure the efficacy of snake gallbladders. On the other hand, they learned Dugu 9 swords and taught Xiaolongnu the swordsmanship in the future. Another month passed, and during this time, Xiaolongnu made a special trip to Mount Zhongnan to send back the body snake and the breeding method. There are more and more martial artists and masters in Xiangyang City, and the Heroes Conference is about to be held. Big brother, should we go to the Guo residence? Why go there so early? Diifan smiled, with a long sword on his waist and a folding fan in his hand. With his handsome face, he barely looked like a decent person. The ancient tomb sect's first appearance after our master must be stunning and must overpower the Chuanjian sect. Otherwise, wouldn't it weaken the reputation of our founder, the female hero Lin Chaoying? Of course, if you are not amazing enough, how can you help you gain fans? The leader of the rebellion must have charisma. Junior sister is beautiful enough, and her martial arts are definitely enough. If her first appearance is not shocking enough, wouldn't it be a big loss? Xiaolongnu didn't expect that Diifan would consider so much even before his appearance. In her beautiful eyes, she couldn't help but feel a little admiration for Diifan. This is his senior brother, the reincarnation of an immortal with unparalleled strategies. So, Diifan and Xiaolongnu hid secretly on the roof. With their lightness and martial arts, as well as the special nature of the ancient tomb school's martial arts, as long as they were unwilling to be exposed, the stinky sweet potatoes and rotten bird eggs in the Guo mansion would not be enough to discover them. However, what the two did not expect was that while they were still planning how to make a stunning appearance, there were two completely unexpected candidates below them. The disciple of the ancient tomb sect, the red-robed fairy Li Morcho, and her nephew Yang will come to see Hero Gua. As soon as he finished speaking, a man and a woman appeared in the lobby, stepping on the air and gracefully approaching. On the beam, Di Fan couldn't help but twitch his mouth, and sent a message to Xiaolongnu, second junior sister and Gua, why are they here too? I don't know, Xiaolongnu was also a little surprised. The last time she went back, she didn't hear that Li Morcho and Yarn Guo were going to leave the mountain. Wait, senior sister Morcho's aura seems to be a little off. Chapter 26, Tasting the Forbidden Fruit. The fierce Li Morcho. What? Di Fan quickly looked down, but in his eyes, Li Morcho and Yarn Guo seemed no different from usual. It was just that he felt that the second junior sister was even more beautiful. Junior sister Morcho, does anything seem to be wrong? Di Fan looked at Xiaolongnu in confusion. Did he learn differently from Xiaolongnu? Why couldn't he see any problems? Xiaolongnu gave Di Fan a blank look, her face slightly red. Of course you can't see it. Only those who practice the ancient tomb sect skills would know. Senior sister and Guar are no longer virgins. What? Di Fan cried out in surprise. Fortunately, he realized something was wrong in time and quickly hid with Xiaolongnu. But this cry also alarmed Yarn Guo and Li Morcho below. The two looked around but didn't see Di Fan and Xiaolongnu. Yarn Guo, Aunt Morcho, Master and Junior Master. Li Morcho, your junior uncle said that he will definitely come to participate in this hero conference. With the temperament of the eldest brother, he must have some calculations. Don't worry, we will meet soon. Yarn Guo, okay, I'll listen to you, Aunt. The palms of their hands unconsciously clasped together, which made Di Fan, who was hiding in the dark, exclaim, fuck. Yarn Guo and Li Morcho, are they really hooking up? Xiaolongnu secretly glared at the senior brother. What the hell is going on? The senior brother is too rude. However, Di Fan was not interested in his junior sister right now. His gossip fire was burning fiercely, and his eyes were completely focused on the two of them. TSK, Yarn Guo is indeed the originator of sister-brother love. No, the originator of master-disciple love. He let Xiaolongnu go and hooked up with Li Morcho in the blink of an eye. Guo, you are going to make trouble with the sisters of the ancient tomb sect, right? It's not like there aren't any suitable girls in the tomb sect. Hong Lingbo has been sent to you, but you're still trying to hook up with Li Morcho. Don't tell me you have an Oedipus complex. Luckily, I, your master, had the foresight to let you become my disciple. Otherwise, my little sister would definitely be harmed by you. Below, the two held hands tightly, which was even more affectionate than when Yarn Guo and Xiaolongnu came to the Heroes Conference in the original novel. Fortunately, Guo Jing and Huang Rong arrived in time. As they were about to meet their elders, Yarn Guo and Li Morcho were a little shy, so they quickly let go of their hands and walked towards Guo Jing. Guo, aren't you a martial artist in the Chuanjin sect? How come you've become a disciple of the ancient tomb sect now? Just as their words fell, before Yarn Guo could even reply, he heard someone at the gate saying hello. Hao Datong and Sun Buer, the second-generation disciples of Chuanjin sect, and their nephews Yin Jiping and Zhao Jijing are here to attend the Heroes Conference. Hearing that harsh name Zhao Jijing, Yarn Guo didn't bother to reminisce with Guo Jing. He turned around with red eyes and glared at the door. The first one to come was an old Taoist with white hair and eyebrows, and a purple face. He was Hao Datong, one of the 7 true immortals. Behind him was an old Taoist nun with grey hair, whom Yarn Guo had never seen before. Behind them came 2 middle-aged Taoists, one was Zhao Jijing, and the other was Yin Jiping. Guo Jing, who always respected teachers, did not care about Yarn Guo's emotions and hurried over to welcome the 4 people into their hall. Hao Datong stroked his beard and said, Brothers Mar, Liu, Qiu and Wang received the invitation from Gang Master Huang and said they should obey the call. However, Brother Ma has been unwell recently and Brother Liu and the others are helping him with his treatment. They are unable to spare time, so they can only apologize to Gang Master Huang. Huang Rong said, okay. You seniors are too polite. HMPH. I just don't know if it's really difficult to split himself, or if he's doing something shady. Guo Jing and Huang Rong had just greeted the Chuanjin sect members when Yarn Guo's sarcastic voice came from the side. Hao Datong and others looked to the side, only to see the red-cloaked fairy Li Morcho and the Chuanjin traitor Yarn Guo, who they had surrounded in the martial arts world in the past, standing aside and looking at them with a sneer. Guo Jing frowned and scolded, Guo. They are all your masters, how can you be so rude? Yang Guo's rebellion against Chongyang Palace was considered a disgrace to the Chuanzhen sect by everyone in the sect, and no one told anyone about it, so Guojing remained on Peach Blossom Island without a trace. Before Yang Guo could even open his mouth, Zhao Jijing started to complain, how could I be worthy enough to be Master Yang's master? Guojing was shocked and asked hurriedly, Brother Zhao, why do you say that? Could it be that the child doesn't listen to the lesson? Zhao Jijing saw all the heroes gathered in the hall. When he mentioned this matter, he would inevitably quarrel with Yang Guo. The Chuanzhen sect would be ashamed, so they just sneered and said nothing more. Li Morcho had been in the martial arts world in her early years, so she knew that it was inconvenient to talk to Yang Guo at this moment, given his seniority. Otherwise, whether it was right or wrong, Yang Guo would be accused of disrespecting his elders. So she took the initiative to step forward and looked at Zhao Jijing coldly. Oh, what an old man who doesn't know right from wrong. Yang Guo's departure from Chuanzhen sect had to be approved by the sect's head, Ma Yu. What, Zhao Jijing, are you not accepting the sect's decision and planning to betray the sect? You? Zhao Jijing glared at Li Morcho, but did not dare to refute. Firstly, what Li Morcho said was the truth. Yang Guo abandoned Chuanzhen and entered the ancient tomb, which was indeed approved by Master Ma Yu. Secondly, if his actions were exposed by the ancient tomb sect, it would be even more embarrassing. It's not just a disgrace to him, but a disgrace to the entire Chuanzhen sect. In the back, Sun Buer's face was livid, unable to answer. Helplessly, Hao Daong had to step forward and sighed, the old matter is over, and the Chuanzhen sect has already made compensation. Why is the fairy forcing me so hard? Do you really want my disciple to commit suicide to appease your anger? Guojing, who was standing by, had no idea what the two were talking about. He looked at Hao Daong, then at Yang Guo. He had always treated Yang Guo as his own son or nephew, and he had great respect for the seven true immortals. He thought that there was no need to ask about right or wrong, and that it must be the younger generation who was at fault. So he was about to speak up and rebuke Yang Guo. In other words, Huang Rong was very smart and noticed something was wrong very early on. She pulled Guojing hard and stopped him from speaking. Otherwise, let alone Li Morcho and Yang Guo who were present, even Di Fan and Xiaolongnu who were hiding in the dark would probably have come down to argue with the Chuanzhen sect. Yes, 2 books of martial arts and an apology can change the sin of almost destroying Guo's martial arts foundation and almost beating Guo to death. TSK, you Chuanzhen sect are really shameless. What? Hearing Li Morcho's words, even Guojing was shocked. Even Huang Rong, who had always been indifferent to Yang Guo because of Yang Kang's matter, frowned and became dissatisfied with Chuanzhen sect. No matter how naughty Yang Guo was, the most a master could do was to reprimand him, beat him, and scold him. How could he destroy his foundation or even beat him to death? Such behavior was no different from that of an animal. You know, master is both a teacher and a father. Not only does it restrict the apprentice, but these 2 words also have requirements for the teacher. Chapter 27, Yang Guo angrily criticizes the Chuanzhen sect. Guojing's face changed and he glared at Hao Daong. At this moment, he was no longer the silly Mongolian boy who had just come to the Central Plains, but a general who had participated in the war between the Song Dynasty and Mongolia and held military power. Coupled with his acquired cultivation that was not inferior to their 5 supremes, he instantly brought tremendous pressure to the disciples of Chuanzhen sect. Uncle Hao, what is the situation? Why did Guo say that he was almost killed by you and then joined the ancient tomb sect? Hao Daong was not good at speaking. When he was in Chuanzhen sect, he was speechless after being confronted by Yang Guo and Di Fan. Now he was still in the wrong and was speechless when facing the questioning. As for the others, Sun Buer did not speak, and Zhao Jijing, the instigator, dared not speak. As for Yin Jiping, who felt guilty and had fantasies about Xiaolongnu, he dared not speak. Seeing this, Yang Guo decisively increased his bet. His master once taught him that it is better to pursue the enemy with the remaining courage, rather than to seek fame by imitating the tyrant. I am not a good person by nature, but I didn't ask you to teach me martial arts. You are all important figures in the martial arts world, why do you have to use tricks to harm a child like me who has no parents? Guojing said angrily, your Aunt Guo and your master have good intentions in teaching you martial arts. They are all considering the friendship between me and your late father. Who is trying to harm you again? Guojing was not very good at speaking, and he stuttered even more when he was angry. Uncle Guo treated me very well. Although Aunt Guo didn't teach me martial arts, she taught me to read and let me understand the principles of the world. From her heart, she also wanted me to become a useful person, which is naturally very good. My current master also often asks me to read more so that I can understand more. I also understand the painstaking efforts of my aunt when I was a child. After Difan's teachings, Yarnguo's feelings towards Huang Rong had changed from being secretive to being earnest. Especially after he learned advanced martial arts, he knew more about the benefits of many saints' classics on martial arts practice. Wu Jing and Huang Rong looked at each other with relief in their eyes. I didn't expect that after visiting Chuanzhen sect, this little guy has become so sensible. Since you have studied Yin principles, why do you feel dissatisfied with Chuanzhen sect? Don't you know that there is a saying that once a teacher, you are father for life? Wu Jing stroked his long beard and spoke slowly. Li Morcho's face turned cold, and when she was about to speak again, Yarnguo gently pulled her back, and signaled with his eyes that he would leave everything to him. For some reason, Li Morcho's face turned red, and she took a step back, really leaving the battlefield to Yarnguo. This scene was also secretly seen by the careful Huang Rong, who kept it in mind. The Book of Rites says, a teacher must first correct himself before he can teach and educate others. This is the foundation of teacher ethics. Respecting teachers and valuing education is the foundation of the Chinese people. However, if students want to respect their teachers, the teachers must also be both teachers and fathers to their students. But what about you, Zhao Zhijing? You claim to be my master, but you didn't teach me any martial arts. That would be fine, but you asked many young Taoist priests to beat me. You ordered me to fetch water and firewood day and night, and I didn't even have enough food. When I escaped, I almost destroyed my martial arts foundation. Taoist Hao, you are also a high-ranking Chuanzhen sect. Tell me, did the head of the ancient tomb sect, Ma Yu, admit his fault and compensate me? It's true. Being given the high hat of a Chuanzhen sect member, and considering that Ma Yu did indeed do this, Hao Datong was a generous person, so how could he lie? Sun Buer glanced at Yarnguo calmly and said, since you have already received the compensation, why are you talking about this matter today? Yarnguo sneered, is that what I want to talk about? It's just that Taoist Zhao is upset and wants to call a deer a horse. This series of classic offensive statements, coupled with factual evidence, left everyone present dumbfounded. No one thought that the Chuanzhen sect actually treated children harshly. Huang Rong's mind was not on Chuanzhen sect, she had been observing Yarnguo. To be honest, she was originally very wary of Yarnguo because of Yang Kang's incident. But now seeing that he was eloquent, logical, and mature in thinking, for Wu Jing's sake, she accepted Yarnguo from the bottom of her heart. Guo, after all, is not like his father. At the beginning, he was the one who really wronged the other party. On the side, Wu Jing was so angry that his eyes turned red when he heard that Yarnguo almost died and almost destroyed his foundation. Yarnguo was the only bloodline left by his sworn brother. Why has it come to this? Why has it come to this? Uncle Hao, why did you treat the people that I brought with me like this? Has my nephew done anything to let down the Chuanzhen sect? Wu Jing asked with a trembling voice. Hao Datong and Sun Buer both lowered their heads and said nothing. Deep down in their hearts, they hated Zhao Zhijing to the extreme. You said you did something wrong, so you did something wrong, and you didn't lose any weight when Yarnguo mocked you. Now look, you fight back and ruin the reputation of Chuanzhen. Li Morcho sneered at the side and said, why else? When Brother Guo went to Mount Zhongnan, he beat hundreds of Taoists in Chongyang Palace without any chance to fight back. Even if senior brothers Ma, Liu, Qiu and Wang don't mind, don't other people bear a grudge? They can't bully you, Wu Jing, but can't they vent their anger on a little kid like Wu? Before he joined our ancient tomb sect, Wu lived a dark life. Today he is still alive to see Brother Guo. It's really God's will. Hao Datong and Sun Buer were so embarrassed by what Li Morcho said that they immediately covered their faces and ran away. Forget it, forget it. The Chuanzhen sect really has no face to participate in this heroes conference anymore. He left so quickly that even Wu Jing and Huang Rong were unable to stop him. As for the others, without knowing the grudges between the ancient tomb sect, Chuanzhen sect and others, it was naturally difficult for them to speak up, let alone get involved. Forget it, Wu, take your uncle to find a seat first. No matter what the matter is, we can discuss it in detail later. As he said this, He signaled the servants around to come over and bring Mo Chou and Yarngua to the chairman's seat. On the beam, Di Fan and Xiaolongnu looked at each other in bewilderment. They had originally thought that it would be Li Morcho who was talking nonsense about Chuanjin sect, but they had not expected that the Chuanjin sect would be defeated just because of Yarngua. Their fighting power was indeed a little weak. Guo's eloquence is too fierce. It seems that the Condor hero that I taught will definitely be a versatile person in the future. The kind that can spray enemies to death. What the predecessors said is indeed right. If you are stupid, you should read more. Xiaolongnu gave Fan a cold look and said, only you would think that Guo did the right thing. Below, the heroes arrived one after another. When the hall was about to be full, Hao Dadong and other Chuanjin sect disciples who had just covered their faces and fled returned to their hall. Guo Jing and Huang Rong looked at each other and hurried over to meet him. They both knew that with the pride of the Chuanjin sect, they would never return if it wasn't an emergency after such a big embarrassment. Uncle Master, what happened? Guo Jing asked in a low voice. Sun Buer pointed outside the door and said, there are enemies coming to cause trouble. We must be careful. We have come here specially to report the news.